And do our colleagues, Councillor Wright,
Good evening.
Councillor Knack. Okay. Councillor Principe, Councillor Stevenson,
Good evening.
Councillor Paquette,
Good evening.
Councillor Tang,
Good evening.
Councillor Hamilton, Councillor Rutherford,
Hello.
Councillor Cotmel,
Good evening.
Councillor Rice,
Hello.
and Councillor Jans. Okay. I think it's very important for us to focus on what is in front of us. In front of us is whether this site be rezoned from RS to RSM H12. If that is approved by council, the decision to sell this parcel goes to executive committee on the 10th, right? 10th. Executive committee will decide whether to sell this land, who to sell to, at what price to sell, or not sell at all. So those are the decisions will be made at the executive committee, and members of the public have the ability to sign up, to speak to the executive committee and oppose the sale if they wish to, or support the sale if they wish to, or oppose the sale to whoever the city might propose to sell to. So that is not in front of us. Who the proponent might be to buy it is not in front of us. What is in front of us, whether we support the zoning from RS to RSM H12. So I would encourage council members to focus questions on that matter. Okay. Where were we on the list of speakers? Okay. Were there any additional questions to the speakers? Huh? Yeah. So now we're going to go to questions to administration. Questions to administration. Okay, Councillor Wright.
Thank you. I'm just wondering about the sort of the history of the historical significance of it. The city didn't apply to itself to ever have it designated as a historical resource or on the inventory?
No.
And would that be something that could have been or should have been done?
Councillor Wright, we circulated this internally. The Heritage Group reviewed the land development application and proposal to RSM H12 and indicated that it was not a historical resource.
Councillor Wright, I would just add to that one of the elements that the Heritage team looks at is the heritage elements that are there on the site and how much alteration has been done in terms of whether it's significant or not. The infrastructure for the streetcar is gone. So when you're looking at a house and there's been many alterations, that historical component of it is gone. And so that's one of the reasons why it's not on the inventory and the Heritage team didn't pursue that.
Okay, and there's no rails left or anything buried underground that, okay. So although there is some history to it, the historical significance of the site itself, I guess, has been damaged or?
It's been altered to the point where you wouldn't recognize it as that trolley stop anymore.
Okay. And would there be any ability for whoever might purchase it to ensure that history is recognized?
That's a question we'd have to defer to the applicants. You know, with the standard zoning, there's no guarantee. But there could potentially be a commitment to work with the neighborhood.
Okay. Okay. So then, I think that's all I have in relation to the land use. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wright. Councillor Cartmel?
Yeah, thank you. Those were many of my questions. I think we heard from speakers that certain commitments were made to the community with respect to this property back during the neighborhood renewal conversations in 2019. Can anybody speak to that?
Yeah, so just to add some clarity around that, Councillor Cartmel, that urban design analysis was done to inform the neighborhood renewal work and only the neighborhood renewal work. So the one sentence that we keep hearing is that it could provide additional open space for the neighborhood. The rest of that sentence in the urban design analysis says, or could be redeveloped into a city asset. So there's recognition in the urban design analysis that this site could be many practical things. Then the urban design analysis also goes on to say that there is less than 50% support for the creation of a pocket park and additional interpretive signage. Due to its relatively isolated location on a busy road, it may be a consideration for the city to sell this land for future development. So that's all recognized in the analysis itself. The BGN team then goes on to finalize the project and finalize everything that they heard in a what we decided report. So public engagement identified a lot of other priorities that they wanted to spend the budget on. Participants said they considered the 2 city-owned outdoor parks and green spaces, the trolley turnaround, as lesser priorities. So that's the summary of the engagement that was done at that time. And then neighborhood renewal and the planning design that went into it and the construction reflected those priorities.
So that, okay, so I guess that's the report that was written. I think that's what you were quoting from. Is that fair to say?
Yes, 2 reports,
Reading
yes.
Okay, then, and I know that that's intended to capture the essence of the conversation, the engagement conversations with the community. Is there any chance that the actual conversations with the community would have led members of that community to presume that this space was going to be preserved once ETS stopped using it as a bus stop and as a washroom?
Very hard for me to speculate on that, Councillor Carmel.
Just wondering if anybody else on the team has any, I'm not sure if there's any overlap between the teams or not.
No.
No. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cartmel. Councillor Rutherford?
Thank you. Just a few questions. One or two of the speakers mentioned about park space and like the limited park space. So I wanted to ask how much park space based on our kind of breathe strategy, what are we looking at in the Highlands?
It's 3.37 hectares of park per 1,000 people.
And what's the breathe, for context for the public, what's the breathe standard?
2 hectares.
2 hectares. And that includes or doesn't include the River Valley?
Does
land?
not include the River
That does
Valley.
not include River Valley, yeah, okay. Okay, that helps. And I think my other questions were answered by other colleagues. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Stevenson? Sorry, Councillor Knack haven't had a question. Sorry. No. So Councillor Knack, sorry, Councillor Stevenson?
Sorry, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just have a couple quick questions. I heard the concern about a loss of light. Just wanted to confirm that we don't anticipate significant shadow impacts from this development.
No.
And that's both sort of the scale of the building and also being located sort of south of a street where presumably most of the shadow would fall.
Yes, it's on the north side. Sorry, yeah, and the building itself, we wouldn't do a sun shadow analysis for this at 12 meters in height. It's just a very small building, relatively small building.
Okay, thank you. Then again, just reference to the question about land use at Blatchford. Am I correct in remembering that there's an intention for 16% affordable housing to be included at Blatchford, including transitional and supportive housing like this development?
You know, Councillor Stevenson, I can tell you that I believe these conversations are ongoing, but I would really prefer to defer to the applicant and ask real estate directly.
Sounds good. And then just in terms of local density level, would this development significantly increase what we're seeing in the neighborhood?
Not necessarily for density. It's 12 units, but if we're relying on the intention of the applicant, I would say the more important piece is your diversity. Highlands is a very high percentage of single detached homes. This will make a very small scale multi-unit housing options available in the neighborhood, which is lacking to a certain extent.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. No further questions.
Hi, Izzy. Okay, are there any other, Councillor,
I will
right,
take the
can you
chair.
take the chair, please? I have a couple of questions. So currently, the site is on RS, right?
That's correct.
Based on the size of the lot, what could be built there under RS? Is it 6 units, 8
10.
units?
10.
10, right?
Yep.
And what would the height be under RS?
10.5 meters.
10.5, right? And the change in height from RS zoning to new zoning is 1.5 meters.
1.5, that's right.
And what could potentially the number of units might be with zone change?
There's no maximum in RSMH 12. We just heard the number of 12 as the intention from the applicant.
Oh, I see, okay. So,
Yep.
okay, that would be the intent. Okay, I see, okay. How about setbacks,
They're relatively the same. Yep, they respond and correspond to how the building is going to front, whether it's going to front on 112, but there are adequate setbacks in that interior setback
and
to the neighbor.
landscaping requirements, right, and all those
Yes.
things are,
Everything under the zoning bylaw applies to this site.
right. And at some point, there would be development permits applied once they're ready to whatever happens, right? And then would that at time, can there be requirements around incorporation of the history of the site or on the facade of the site? Like where would some of the historical features, if there's a desire to have those included in the building, what stage would that decision be made?
That would really be the applicant working with the community and just that commitment.
I see, okay,
Yeah,
got it.
outside of the zoning bylaw. Also, if it helps Mayor Sohi, the uses in the RS zone and the RSMH 12 zone are exactly the same. So if residential uses, which supportive housing falls under, can also be built under RS, the current zoning that is there today.
Okay, so supportive housing with the health-related facilities being included,
Health services, yes.
health services are permissive under RS,
That's right.
and they're also permissive under the zoning that's being sought.
That's correct.
Okay, got it. Okay, good. Thank you so much. I really appreciate those answers. I will take the chair back.
Chair return.
Okay, so that concludes the questions to administration on this. Are there any questions from council to folks in favor, folks in opposition, or to administration on any new information arising out of the previous conversation? Councilor Rutherford?
Yeah, to the applicant.
Applicant, please come down.
Thank you. Just a quick question. Like, I definitely hear from the community, whether it's historically, if it has historic stuff on it right now, there is historic significance to some of the members in the community, and it's shaped a lot of their identity. I know, for example, with something like the Cam Cell, there's been talk about having sort of a historical placard, some sort of thing on the site, even though it's a private development, it is developed for housing, to acknowledge the history there. is that something that the applicant would consider in this sale, to have some sort of work with the community to create some sort of historical commemoration on this site?
That would be something I think would be addressed more within the below market sale, but I have had a conversation with Jasper Place Wellness Center on that, and they are amenable to exploring what those options could be.
So can I put
I
that
think
in-
it's very important for us to, at this table, to understand that who this land will be sold to is a decision of the committee, and that decision is not made here, and it may never get made at committee as well, right? So I think
Yes.
it's important to understand that
And I-
there's no proponent to buy has been selected.
Yeah, well, and again, like, we're at public hearing, we're hearing from members of the public how important and significant this space is from a historical perspective. So that's where I'm coming from with my questions, because I am contemplating, should there be a subsequent directing some sort of commemorative project on this parcel? And so that's, whether it's appropriate for me to make it here or well, I'm not on the committee that this would go to, so I would only be able to make it here. I don't know what that would look like, but that's why I'm asking that. So I guess to
If I can
Mr.
help,
Johnson.
it's an appropriate motion here as a subsequent, for sure.
Yeah, okay.
That you
But that's why I'm asking that.
That you would ask.
So
them to
your questions are appropriate. I just want to
okay.
make sure that we are clear that this council and committee has not selected a proponent for this site.
Yeah, okay. So I guess to the applicant, would you be amenable to some kind of motion to that effect? Do you?
I guess I'd defer to law on where that is best suited. I guess I would like to maintain that, the standard zoning is what we would like to stay to.
Yeah, but then, so this is where it gets a bit dicey, Mr. Johnson, because I do think the lever here would be on like the sales agreement.
Agreed.
So,
Yep.
so maybe it is better to just put that out there in the ether for the committee to discuss?
There's no legal problem with either way.
Okay, okay.
Once this public hearing is closed, the public hearing is closed, and so council, if it gives direction to administration after that in a subsequent motion, that's not appropriate. But I don't want to presume that sale is going to happen or who it's to or anything of the sort.
Yeah, but
So
I think that regardless
ideally,
of whether the sale happens or not,
You
we are
want
the
to-
owners, the city is the owners right now. We can direct the city.
Exactly.
to-
It doesn't have to be a sale-related issue.
Exactly,
Yep.
yeah, okay, thank you. That's all my questions.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Knack.
Thanks, Mayor Sohi, and sorry, it's been long since you made your presentation, the breaks happened. Did you talk about the percentage, because I heard a lot about, from the speakers in opposition, about over-concentration of housing, and so can you remind me what percentage we're at? Because I know it's citywide, we target about 16% in every community. Where's Highlands fall?
It is 8.3,
8.3.
and then with the additional 12 units, it would be 9.2.
9.2, okay. Okay, that's helpful knowledge, just to get a sense. And generally, again, I'm correct in saying 16%, give or take, is sort of what we strive for across the city and in every neighborhood, recognizing we still got a lot of work to do across the city. I mean, I have some neighborhoods that are 20 and 25% and some that are 1 or 0%. So, but we're working towards that.
Yeah, the 16% aspirational target is across the city, and it does include projects such as Blatchford and Exhibition Lands and other city-led development projects.
Yeah, Blatchford's actually a little bit higher target at 20% right now, right? That's what we...
I think you could be correct.
Yeah, and I've even heard from residents in Blatchford that they wouldn't mind going up to as high as 30 in some cases. I had some recent conversations with them, so, okay. Okay, that's helpful. I think that answers my additional question. Thank you, Mayor Sohi.
Thank you, Councillor Knack. Councillor Wright, can you take the chair?
I have the chair.
I just want to explore what Councillor Rutherford was asking about and related to preserving the history. As a former bus driver, I have memories of that loop as well, as does community. Transit has a transformative impact on people, so does housing. So this is kind of a nice fit into that community building aspect of both services. So why are you, and you said you want a standard zoning, so why would you not as an applicant, why would you not look at preserving the history of that site in some form of recognition of that historical service that loop provided to people, right?
I think it's definitely something that could be incorporated into a development. We'd want to be mindful of the type of commemoration we were trying to play. So like if it was to say bring a trolley, that might be cost prohibitive.
Appropriate, that fits
Right.
into
But if we're talking about plaques or some other kind of commemorative element in that nature, I think that would totally be doable. And I will say, regardless of, like, even if the sale falls through on September 10th, the idea is we would still be disposing of this property. So if
Yes.
there was a motion made to say in any sale to include something like that, it would still make sense regardless of what happens in September.
Okay, no, all right. Okay, hear you, then I understand. Now, I think the appropriate time, whether here or at the sale, at the executive committee, that's something that probably, as chair of the executive committee, I can pursue that. So, okay. So as an applicant, maybe, hi. As an applicant, you are open to having some form of recognition for the history of this site as a public transit history, as long as the intent of, if the rezoning is granted, you're able to achieve that intent of housing.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think we wouldn't, like, the concern I think that Stu had was maybe it would be tied to something related to the zoning, which takes it outside of a standard zone. So
Got it.
as long as it was something outside of that,
Okay.
I think it's less of an encumbrance.
Okay.
And, yeah.
Okay, good. I will take the chair back.
Chair return.
Okay, that concludes the questions on new information. We are ready to close the public hearing on this bylaw.
Mr. Mayor, I move closure of public hearing for bylaw 21269.
Second.
Okay. Please vote.
I'm a yes.
Thank you, Councillor Jans.
Oh, I am yes too.
Thank you, Mayor Sohi. We have all the votes.
Councillor Prince is yes.
My apologies, Councillor Principe. We'll mark you as yes. We have all.
Thanks.
Display the votes, please. That is carried.
Mr. Mayor, I'll move first reading of bylaw 21269.
Second.
Okay, we have the first reading on the bylaw on the floor to speak now. Councillor Knack, please go ahead.
Thanks, Mayor Sohi. So there's sort of three pieces to this conversation that I've been thinking about. The first, and sort of how we were introduced to it, is really the RS zone that this currently is versus the RSM. And I actually think that's probably the simplest part of the three pieces, because the RSM zone where this is situated, that's a very common zoning that we have alongside an arterial road. I think from a land use impact, that zone as it stands is a very straightforward zone. So the main question that we're supposed to answer today is are we comfortable with going from RS to RSM, regardless of anything else? And I'll cover the other two. For me, that answer is pretty easy as a yes. The RSM zone is a very reasonable zone. We have zones like this across the city, on roads like this across the city. There's the two other pieces, though, that come into this, and I appreciate, with even Mr. Johnson's caution, but I also take Councillor Cartmel's point a little bit, that the applicant did raise that they had an intent, and that independent of what would come to us, I do think we need to acknowledge that. And so I wanted to spend a bit of time first on just this notion of the transition housing. I've started by mentioning I represent the community of Glenwood, which had the first of these 12-unit developments. There's actually 3 of them that took over 2 single-family lots about 2 years ago. And so they've been open now for 2 years. Jasper Place Wellness operates these, and very fortunately, I will say it's been a great success. These are located on 100th Avenue on a fairly major roadway, in about similar distance to other major transit and amenities to what we're talking about right here. But what I've really appreciated from Jasper Place Wellness, and appreciate that's a conversation that'll come up in September, but I want to respect that there are a number of residents who had some uncertainty and fear of safety. What I've seen in the West End, where these have been operating for 2 years, is something that's actually been really successful in adding to the community. I regularly attend meetings with the Glenwood Community League. I was at their AGM just a couple months ago. Those developments have been a really positive addition and have not contributed negatively. In fact, because the way they work is that folks that come out of the Royal Alex who were homeless, instead of being sort of just on the street on Stony Plain Road, they frankly now have a home to go into. And so it's a safer experience for those individuals. And quite honestly, it's a safer experience for the community members. It's been really positive because those folks previously might have been released and then would just be sleeping on the street in and around Stony Plain Road. And I know that's, I know Mr. Johnson will tell us this is not a user conversation, but I do think I need to raise that because we heard it from speakers in opposition of just that fear, and I want to acknowledge that and share just some personal experience as a councillor that represents an area that has had that. So, but appreciate that would be a conversation in more detail come in September, but I will say Jasper Place Wellness also throughout that process worked very closely with the community of Glenwood and residents there before the projects were constructed to help make sure they answered as many questions as they could, talked through it, and reach that point where by the time that the construction was ready to start, the community was behind it. But that was through an ongoing body of work that started after they acquired the site, so similar in terms of timing to how we're operating now. The final piece that came up, and I probably won't have as much time to talk about it, is this question around the heritage piece. And I'm hearing the points that have been raised. I think where I'm struggling is that if this was a site that had rails in place, that had a building in place, that had something there, I think about a number of the heritage areas that we've been trying to preserve as a city. I would feel more inclined to say, let's try to find another site within the community to accomplish this. But I'm also, acknowledging one of the Councillor Rutherford's questions I was going to ask about, that the amount of park space we have here is substantive. We're about to hear from a community that is still waiting on pocket parks, and we're finally looking to buy a parcel of land, and it is below that mark. And so I'm not feeling like this is a site on its own that needs to be the site that we acknowledge that heritage and that history that we've heard from. I'd love to still make sure we don't forget that, so I think subsequent by Councillor Rutherford, whether today or at a future meeting, would be a very valuable exercise as a way to not forget that. But I don't think that's a reason, the heritage piece for me, I don't think is a reason to say no to this rezoning today. So I'll support this rezoning and then at a future conversation talk more about the transitional housing and how it operates too. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Councillor Knapp. Councillor Jans.
Yeah, thank you. We've had a few of these conversations where it looks like we're either disposal of an asset is, I think, one term we use sometimes, but like where we have an alleyway that we close and then have the operational cost savings of not having to maintain and renew and fix that alley, or a road or an intersection or other pieces. I'm just mindful, one of the big challenges we've been talking about is we as a city have a $1.8 billion infrastructure renewal deficit. We have over $11 billion worth of roads in our city. And part of the conversation about how we are going to right-size all of our assets is not done in hundreds of kilometers at a time, but done meter by meter by meter. And at the beginning when I asked, who's paying for this right now? Who's shoveling this? Who's cutting the grass? Even if it's just turfed or naturalized, there's still operational costs. So what is the best use of, and the highest and best use of a chunk of land against an arterial road like this? It's certainly not asphalt. And when I look at the opportunities in front of us to change a RS zone to something more usable, that could be housing, that could be something else, that could be affordable housing, that could be bridge housing. This is a much better use for Edmontonians, especially some of those facing barriers. I think some of you were there on February 8th, I think 1 year or 2 years ago, but we had a meeting, the Chamber of Commerce convened. It was Marie Soroka from Jasper Place Wellness Center, Dr. Louis Franceschetti, the Bridge Healing creator, and they talked about the same problem, about people getting discharged from emergency rooms in the healthcare system onto the street. And we all talked about how the thing that the city can bring to the table that we've talked about in these other conversations is land. Underutilized small parcels of land that make a difference. A small parcel here can help enable and create 12 units of housing for people who are being discharged from Emerge, who are being discharged from the hospital, who may need a social worker, some other assistance, but most of all, they need a bedroom. They need a place to live. They need somewhere to call home. So I'm mindful of, in the city's report, they even said that this land could be used as a city asset. When I think about the crisis on our streets right now, just a few weekends ago, I live very close to the U of A hospital, and my kids and I were going to a local playground, and we found a guy face down in a hospital gown with a bracelet on from the hospital and a wheelchair. I have no idea why he was released. I have no idea if he left. I have no idea why. But I just remember having to try and explain to an 8-year-old and a 4-year-old how broken our system is, that somebody who's sick and should be seeing a doctor is face down in some Kentucky bluegrass. And I think now about this parcel here, that if we could do something else with it, we need to be having these conversations over and over and over in every neighborhood, in every community. Whether it's bridge housing, whether it's commercial, whether it's residential, anything is higher and better use than billing the taxpayer for yet another parcel, for snow removal, for grass cutting, for everything else. So if there's a provider who's doing incredible work in our city that our admin are talking with, that they're talking with, that could use this, that's a great win. And I think that all of us will benefit, because our neighbors are already in our community. They might be in the River Valley, they might be in our alleyways, but they're there. And if they're in our Emerge, they shouldn't be put back into the place they came from. They should have a room and a home.
Thank you, Councillor Jans. Councillor Stevenson.
Thank you, Mayor Silke. Just want to take a moment to speak to this briefly. I agree that from a land use decision perspective, this is very cut and dry. There's very clear rationale for supporting this rezoning and putting this land to use. But of course, the exact use of this parcel has also been front and center in this conversation. So I do hear from the community just the fears that they have, and what sounds like incredibly difficult situations that have had a real impact on certain individuals in the community. And what I think we need to continue coming back to is that those challenges are a result of people not having their needs met. And housing is a key part of the solution to this. So I'm excited to support this rezoning that will provide greater diversity of housing types and better meet the needs of individuals who may live there, but also the whole community who want to feel more connected and safe in their neighborhood. I also just wanted to address the suggestion that the local councillor chose to not be part of these conversations. That's inaccurate. It's a requirement through law. And so she upheld her obligations of the office under the Municipal Government Act. I also just want to take a moment to thank staff, both our planning staff who reviewed this application and our staff in real estate and housing who brought this forward. Really appreciate the work that each party did to work through these questions and to bring forward this proposal. I look forward to supporting this. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Stevenson. Councillor Wright, can you take the chair, please? Yeah, thank you. I really want to take a moment to thank members of the community for engaging on this very important conversation. This is not the first ETS transit loop that we are turning into something different. This is the third, actually. Inglewood was the first one, then Cromdale loop was another one that is being turned into housing, and now this one. So it's not unique in that way. But I do want to talk about two things that have shaped my life and have made my life better. First one is public transit. When I got here, I have no access to other private modes of transportation that I could afford, so I heavily relied on public transit to move around our city. And then later on, public transit provided me the opportunity to be employed and put food on the table for my family and to raise a beautiful daughter. And so it's been, for me, a transformative thing that have happened, and I have memories of providing that service to on that particular route as well, right? So I think another transformative thing for me is housing. I have lived in my brother's basement. I have lived in rental suites, and I have my own home now. I think housing and transportation are so essential for people's well-being. So I think there's an opportunity here to mingle both and turn something beautiful that will recognize their history, but something beautiful that will house people who need housing. Another thing I want to make a point is that communities that provide diverse housing choices, where low-income families, middle-income families, affluent families can live together in the same community, will always be a better and healthier community. Because it creates that interaction and opportunities to see and live each other's realities and be more open-minded and broader, understanding people's day-to-day lives and struggles. I think that's what makes Edmonton such a phenomenal place, because we have those kind of opportunities in our neighborhoods, and we want to create those opportunities more by having 17% of affordable housing stock in every neighborhood of our city. I think that's where my headspace is, that we need to create that kind of opportunities. As far as whether it's RS zoning or RSM, the use is pretty much similar. Opportunities are similar as well. I think it will add to the community. So I'm going to be supporting this, and I hope that council can support it too. Okay, I'll take the chair back.
Returned.
And go to Councillor Paquette to close.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Mayor. My decision today is based entirely on zoning, whether this proposed zoning is appropriate for a main arterial on a corner lot. That's the question before us. The next step, if this passes, will be executive committee, where the potential sale of the land is discussed. And we've heard conversation around willingness to have a robust debate and engagement around historical preservation by a potential developer of the lot at that time. And tonight there will likely be a notice of motion made around that issue as well. But whatever may be proposed for the site in the future does not influence my vote today, though it does shape my reflections. Before I cast my vote, I want to share those reflections. Long before a streetcar ever turned around here, or a trolley, this was alternately Blackfoot and Cree territory. At that time, it would have been described as Aski Pimatsuin, the land that gives life. For thousands of years, people gathered, traveled, picked berries, lived and loved along this high bank of the river valley. That is the oldest heritage of this site as far as human activity is concerned, and it is one that we sometimes forget. I understand that this corner, or this area, preserves memories for many in Highlands as a place of practical public service. That comes from a deep pride in the neighborhood, and we can honor those memories while also ensuring the site continues to serve people in a practical sense today. I cannot say for certain what the future development of this site will be. However, this was once a place where the original peoples lived and thrived. It's a place where people now live and thrive. Then it was a streetcar turnaround, or trolley turnaround, then a bus turnaround. And now, depending on how things proceed, it might be a place where lives turn around. A place that honors history by making it a living history. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Paquette. Please vote.
We have all the votes.
Display the votes, please. It is carried.
Mr. Mayor, I'll move second reading.
Second?
Okay. Please vote.
We have all the votes.
Display the votes, please. That is carried.
Mr. Mayor, I'll move consideration of third reading.
Second.
Please vote for consideration.
We have all the votes.
Display the votes, please. It is granted. Go ahead.
Mr. Mayor, I'll move third reading.
Second.
Please
Of
vote.
bylaw 21269.
Okay. Please vote for the final reading.
We have all the votes.
Display the votes, please. That is carried. Now,
Oh, go ahead.
we're going to carry on to the next item. Yeah. We are on to item, that was postponed. 3.31.
Point of order.
Yeah.
Is anybody going to let Councillor Salvador know that she can come back now?
Okay, can you please let Councillor Salvador know that she can rejoin the meeting?
Certainly.
Thank you. All right, item 331, bylaw 21127, to allow for medium-scale housing, West Jasper Place. There are speakers in favor and opposition, so we're going to go to administration for our presentation.
Good evening. This application proposes to rezone a site in the West Jasper Place neighborhood from the small-scale residential zone to the medium-scale residential zone with a height modifier of 16 meters. Oh, excellent. Thank you. Next slide, please. This large corner site is well connected to a variety of amenities and services and can be reached within a short walk. This includes the future Glenwood LRT station, bus service along 95th Avenue, current and planned bike routes on 153rd Street and 95th Avenue, a commercial intersection, and a park and school site. Next slide, please. When compared with the current RS zone, the proposed RMH 16 zone would allow for an overall larger building footprint. The slide shows the massing models of the two zones for visual comparison. Though this scale of development is expected at the edge of the neighborhood within 400 meters of an LRT station, future, adjacent to a mixed-use zone and on a corner lot, the site has the added benefit of being surrounded on three sides by either roads or lane. helping to buffer and ultimately offset impacts to surrounding properties. Additionally, the proposed RMH16 zone requires an interior setback of 3 meters, which is larger than the 1.2 required in the existing RS zone. This can also help reduce the impacts to the abutting property. Next slide, please. Through engagement, we heard feedback from 27 residents, with 18 in opposition, 8 in support, and 1 requested for more information. We heard concerns that the proposed height is too tall and will impact access to sunlight and cause shadows, that it will change the existing character of the neighborhood, contribute to parking congestion, and result in loss of privately owned mature trees. The residents who are in support expressed hope for additional commercial amenities and believe the subject site is ideal for greater density given its proximity to commercial developments and a future LRT stop. Next slide, please. In the Jasper Place district plan, the site is designated urban mix and meets the district policy to support low-rise as it is adjacent to a site zoned for greater than small-scale development and is within 400 meters of a mass transit station. Additionally, the proposed rezoning aligns with the city plan's Big City Move, a community of communities, by providing the opportunity for more people to easily complete their daily needs within 15 minutes of home. Next slide, please. Administration recommends that City Council approve this bylaw. It is 200 meters from the future LRT station. It complies with the district policy to support low-rise development in the urban mix, and it enables people to easily complete their daily needs with close proximity to open space, school sites, and bus services. Thank you.
Okay. Done. Yeah. So, Sabia, Sancher to answer questions only, in favor. Songlin Pan to answer questions only. Amol, Sancher to answer questions only. William Yin, Span Architect to make a presentation. Please come down.
Please. Good evening, City Council, City Admin, and neighbors. It's William Yin. Next slide, please. There's a air photo shows the lot. As you can see, we have not one, not two, 6 lots combined, and we are planning to just put them together and put a apartment like 4 to 5 stories. This land is at the corner of 155 Street and 95 Avenue, and it's on the corner. And as you can see, it's a pretty open space and high exposure. Next slide, please. We, as you can see, right now, since most of the house is really old and it's built in 1950, 1960, so we demolish most of them, and those 2 remain empty as well. Next slide, please. The main reason we want to do this development is the TOD. The TOD, transportation-oriented development, is the one fundamental method for the whole urban planning and development. Once we know the station is just 200 meters away, and we find this is a perfect spot to do the TOD, and it only cross 1 block, and as you can see, the station is right on the north. Next slide, please. The Glenwood bus stop is 1 block away, just go the north, and it's an intersection and the major busy corridor there. And next slide. The site is in the middle, and on the right you can see the whole LRT station is on the way, and the whole 156 6th Street is digging out and the station is there. And I guess the LRT is ready. We are ready to next. This is more like the view to the north east, and the station is there, and 150th Street is the upper, and there's a big commercial building on north too. Again, for my conclusion is this is a lot we just do the combination already, and it's the perfect fit for the TOD, and we don't looking for any too height. We just use RMH16, and hopefully this will be approved by the city council.
Thank you so much for joining us. Questions? Just hold on. Questions, colleagues? Great, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Now we'll go to folks in opposition. Is Heather Wildgrove here?
Here.
Thank you.
Yes, I am.
Thank you. Stephen Lakey in person, as well as, is it Izzy Hoban? Ilza. Ilse Hoban. Don, we just sit down. Please sit down. Don
Magic. Yes, I'm here online.
Thank you so much. Okay. We will start with Heather Wildgrove.
Yeah, I think I have a presentation.
Okay. Do we have their presentation? Okay, we're just loading it. Just here we go. Go ahead, please.
Okay. Hello, Mr. Mayor and councillors. Thank you for your time today. Could you pull the first slide, please? The original proposal was for 3 lots to be zoned as small-scale residential to match our neighbourhood's character. Then 1 lot was sold, then another, and the proposal shifted to medium-scale residential. Since then, yet another lot has been added. Engagement has been minimal, mainly postcards that not everyone has received. When the 3rd application expanded it to 6 lots, many residents were confused and surprised. The city's documents still focus on the 2nd application of 5 lots, not the current 6-lot plan. Contrary to claims that the houses were run down, most were renovated within the past 7 years or maintained, including 2 Airbnbs and a young family home. They only deteriorated after the developer purchased them. Since then, 3 of the 6 houses have caught fire due to squatters, including one just this morning, 2 doors down from me at 5 o'clock. Firefighters this morning raised concerns about the proposed build. This does not fill me with confidence that the city has adequately considered this application's impact to the neighbourhood. Could I have the next slide, please? The new zoning allows commercial use in a residential area. This is incompatible with our neighbourhood, as you could see from the pictures from the previous speaker. Retail near transit often leads to more homeless people, higher crime, and reduced community connection. I've seen no concrete city plan to address crime increases around the new LRT stops, and we're already dealing with 3 fires caused by homeless people in the 6 lots of this application within 9 months. Next slide, please. Looking at recent builds, the retail is usually liquor stores, vape shops, or fast food, all of which we already have in abundance within a 15-minute walk. Adding more doesn't serve the community. Next slide, please. Edmonton's goal is densification, but West Jasper Place is already densified. 74% of residents live in apartments and 78% of us rent. Existing higher density buildings nearby remain partly vacant. This proposal is not gentle infill. It would be the tallest building in the area and located inside the neighborhood, not on a corridor or node. There are plenty of other options to increase the densification in already approved zones on 156 and 149 Street. Next slide, please. New rentals do not guarantee affordability. Infill here is already smaller and more expensive than older homes. Purpose-built rentals like the Switch downtown remain largely vacant. Edmonton is repeating Vancouver and Toronto's mistake, chasing apartment density at all costs while neglecting the missing middle of families who need affordable homes or townhomes near schools. Next slide, please. This project, next slide after that, please. This project also undermines the city's green goals. The developer has already removed mature trees which reduce urban heat, and no promised green space has been added. Equity in green space is shrinking while climate risks grow with this proposal. Next slide, please. Traffic is another issue. Our alley is dirt and unlit. More residents and commercial traffic will degrade it further and increase crime risks. Next slide, please. This morning's fire showed how strained our parking already is. Despite 6 of the lots being abandoned or emptied, on-street parking still impeded 4 fire trucks. High-density development without adequate parking will only worsen this. Next slide, please. This is not a wealthy neighborhood. Rapid upzoning like this has already failed in Vancouver's Lower Mainland, where it drove an affordability crisis for working-class families, not a solution. Those families started to move here. If this passes here, it sets a precedent for Crestwood, Glenora, and other mature green areas. Next slide, please. I am not against densification. My own family lives in an infill, and I welcome triplexes and quadplexes that enhance our community and increase the appeal of Edmonton as a place to live. But this project is outsized, out of place, and sets the stage for apartments with commercial space across almost half of our neighborhood based on current densification consideration criteria. That destroys both the scale and the community we've built and want to continue to build. The end. Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us. Next is Stephen Lakey.
Good evening. I'm going to pick up on a couple of things that Heather said and introduce some new things. But
Sorry, point of order. Could you bring the mic closer to your mouth? Thanks.
Yesterday's meeting, Mr. Sohi and Mr. Paquette talked about the importance of following procedures, law, and honoring the social contract that the city has with citizens. On that basis, I believe that there is a fundamental problem with this application. And that problem is that there has been a 6th lot added to this package well after the consultation period concluded. I'm not going to go into all of the details because I'm not going to have time with what I want to say. But the consultation after, this was originally 3 lots, that was withdrawn. It was reproposed for 5 lots. The consultation on that, the Engage Edmonton period, ended on May the 11th. Somewhere around July, a 6th lot was added to this. That is just not what people signed up for. It just comes back to what some of us are so concerned about if this does get approved, that the city only favors developers. It does not consider citizens. If this project should be sent back to the start line to come in again because of what's happened. My other concerns that are in relation to what I would call a cumulative impact concerns with the district that have a land use nexus. And number one, the assembly of land for this project was extraordinarily aggressive. People were hassled. People were offered well over the market price. And this has only exacerbated the affordability gap within the neighborhood. We have seen property prices spike well over 100, 150, 200,000 from what they were originally. We have a corner lot where somebody's asking 650,000. We now have a situation where average people are pushed out. Homes that were affordable are no longer there. The overall price is too high. It's now only in the realm of industrial, large-scale real estate developers and speculators that now have any sort of influence in this. There's a juggernaut that's been unreleased, it's been released, and affordable housing is being destroyed. Second point, West Jasper Place is arguably close to being relatively unique within the city, and we've talked about this before, but we are surrounded by 3 LRT stations. We have priority growth areas that surround us. We already have a large part of our neighborhood which is apartments as a result of previous city policy. We have some huge concerns with the district planning approach that the city has adopted, where our problems are just sort of lumped in with the aggregate of the other communities in the area, but most of the population growth, the spike, is in West Jasper Place. And we are just not at all convinced that the city is listening to us or has developed any sort of cumulative impact plan or policies, plans, concrete plans to address that. We just keep hearing, we'll consider it later on. The parking thing, we're gonna have this monstrosity. We've already got an office space across the street. We've got the LRT parasite parking. We've got another very large complex that was approved. This is not a situation that can be left. My third point is that being realistic, there's going to be parking problems with this. It's already a problem. But I want to point out that with the closure of the 95th Avenue and 156th Street intersection because of the LRT construction, traffic is routed up 155th Street. There are people just mad with what's happening. People are rushing along there. This is not a safe situation. Finally, third, the quality of the application that was submitted in this case is frankly one of the most abysmal applications I have ever seen. It is lacking in so many ways. It is full of errors, and somehow the city to even allow this is shocking. There should be far greater due diligence when something is even submitted like this. And some of the houses were actually built in 1997. The application says that these are houses in the 30s and the 50s. Somehow it's not fair.
Thank you.
My final comment.
I'm sorry. I am so sorry. I have to stick to the time. Isa Hobbin, please go ahead.
Yes, good evening. In setting some context from the broader land use perspective, in 2005, approximately 60% of the 1,700 or so dwellings in West Jasper Place were apartments that flanked three sides of our community. This fact can be partially traced to decisions taken by the City of Edmonton in the 1960s to solve a housing problem when the town of Jasper Place was amalgamated in 1964. Ever since, we have needed to be fiercely protective to preserve our core, its facilities, and the quality of life when some of the city's other development and zoning policies and decisions taken seemed as if they were not well conceived or created unintended and undesirable consequences were not addressed adequately. West Jasper Place has a significant park green space deficit that is actually referenced in the Jasper Place District Plan, and many residents are of the view that further encroachment and significant densification of our core, such as would be the case of this very large apartment project, cannot be supported until green space and a cumulative analysis report is completed. The shortage can be related to two significant city decisions. Approximately 40 years ago, a decision was taken to close Central School and build the Grant MacEwan West Campus, now known as Orange Hub, on the site. Approximately 16 lots of 50 by 150 feet of green space were lost. Residents tolerated that decision, in part because the Newman resolution, which was to keep the core zoned single family, implemented at approximately the same time, provided some protection. Population growth due to more recent and highly controversial decisions to update policies on how the city will manage growth, combined with LRT and other federal housing incentives, threaten to unleash a tidal wave of change. In moving to a district planning approach and away from a more community neighborhood approach, the local impact of the change is tempered. However, the reality is that a significant and asymmetrical amount will fall on West Jasper Place. City Council and administration may suggest that some of us are overreacting, that problems can be addressed with the flexibility of the district approach. or that it's not really a big deal, because populations in mature neighborhoods has been declining significantly. However, the site, Infill Data Explorer, developed by the city, reveals that West Jasper Place bucks the trend and actually had a population increase of over 2,000 from 1971 to 2011. Another perhaps more reasonable indicator to coincide closely with the time period of the Orange Hub, according to publictable.com, between 1986 and 2016, the population of West Jasper Place increased by 11.5% from 2,835 to 3,285. As noted earlier, the park space deficit is recognized in the Jasper Place District Plan, but conveniently sidestepped by the issue saying that it may be addressed when and if funding became available. The rezoning is going to the building is going to increase the density. Andrew Knack said that we can be getting a pocket park. What we gave up with the hub and what we have is nowhere near the size of a pocket park. And all the other presentations I've seen over the last 3 days, they always refer to green space included in their proposals, but we don't have it. So we will not be able to support any more rezoning and others like it until we know how much green space are we going to get? Where is it going to be? When are we going to get it?
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Next, we will go to Don Magic.
As a council, you brought up many regulations that needed to be done in a timely manner, so procedures should be followed. Just like any city would do, just to make sure laws are followed. However, because the statutory requirements of appropriate signage for the 6th lot were not followed, such a proposal must be defeated. If the lots on 95th Avenue and 155th Street are allowed to build a medium-scale housing structure, shouts hypocrisy to all the residents of West Jasper Sherwood. To do so implies that the City Council has double standards, one for itself and the other for citizens being represented. Some representation, if you ask me. As Andrew Knack put in his flyer that I received just last week, and this is in quotation marks, we must build more homes and stay ahead, ensuring affordability and housing options. Does this, end of quote, does this proposal build more homes? No, it doesn't. It builds an apartment. Do we have a shortage of apartments in West Jasper Sherwood? No, we do not. Are these apartments going to be for low-income citizens? Not likely, considering the couple who bought these lots are professionals and are doing this to make a nest egg for themselves. The rent will be comparable to the market value of surrounding apartments. Where there is a fair bit of vacancy. This situation reminds me of the game of Monopoly. The more properties you get, the better you'll win the game. However, this is no game. You are dealing with actual human beings who live and raise their families in this neighborhood, as well as singles and elderly neighbors. Speaking about problems brings to mind the growing one with our lack of a park, which the residents of West Jasper were promised decades ago. Children need playtime. However, when they fight for a swing or a turn on the slide because of inadequate numbers being available, a fun time at the park does not exist. We do not have enough park space for our population. That was evident before the 4x4 structures were built. Now the problem has just exacerbated. We need an analysis of our neighborhood to see what housing options would best fit the growth plan envisioned by you, city councilors. We surely want to capitalize on using our schools, library, and other services effectively. Yet, if you build this size of apartment, I doubt very much that it will appeal to families. They'll be for young people, right? We need no apartment in our core. We need more affordable housing, more park space, and time to see the LRT effects in our community before rezoning of any multiple lot should be approved. May God bless you and help you realize that since city procedure was not followed, our neighborhood should remain free of any apartment in our core. West Jasper Sherwood community deserves time to have our needs met and to see how the community will develop as a result of all the infills that have occurred over this past year. We have 60 structures that are 4x4 rental places, not owning, like people aren't owning these places, they're renting. So, and I came from a family where we rented because we couldn't afford to buy a house. I'm blessed and that my husband and I have been able to buy our house. And I want that same opportunity for a young family and young families in this neighborhood so we will grow and be a vibrant community like we have been in the past. Remember, and this is in quotation marks, Rome, which is my West Jasper Sherwood, was not built in a day. Any community worth its weight in gold needs proper notification, necessary park space, and the residents' input as to the changes that are wanted in our neighborhood. This decision you make today will be one that there is no turning back. Please do the responsible vote. Listen to your residents, for without that, your term in office is limited. Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us. Questions, colleagues? Councillor Knack.
Thanks, Mayor Sohi. Mr. Lakey, you had a little bit left that you didn't get to cover?
Yes, what I want to say is that a concern that I do want to raise, because it is on the minds of so many people, and we talked a bit about it yesterday with the Everfor situation. So many people are concerned that we are on the cusp of heading into a Vancouver, Toronto kind of situation. Citizens would really like to see a more, I'll call it a more robust policy or contact point within the city to address things like program abuse, foreign ownership, financial irregularities. Right now, those issues just fall through the cracks, and the way that the city is managing these policies, it's just created a situation where, frankly, it's not so much about creating housing, it's just what can you do when you flip the property, or how can you manipulate the financing to gain the best go of it. Our friend here, there's just nothing in the plan that suggests that they've consulted the neighborhood, that they're going to do anything. It's just, we're going to build this and we're going to probably flip it down the road to somebody else who's bringing in money from another country. And I think that really does need to be investigated. You saw most of you have seen the Everfor report.
Okay, thank you. I wanted to check, and I'll ask our administration about the flag on the advertising requirements. I'll ask Mr. Johnson and team at the appropriate time if that sixth lot was not advertised properly, because if it wasn't, that's a clear piece, but that'll come at the other time of questions of Min. I think, and I guess it's really to any of you, I think I'm, I remember back a couple of months ago when we had our conversation about 95th Ave and 153rd Street, and while there wasn't a universal love of row housing, what ultimately, at least according to the city map site, that is what ultimately is getting applied for. There's a permit that's now applied for the townhomes. And I feel like during those conversations there was a recognition that, okay, because that was further away from the LRT, it made more sense to have something like townhomes, but closer to LRT, that's where we would, we've spent the last, not just 3 days, but many public hearings over the last year from people saying, when you're close to LRT, this is a 2-minute walk from LRT, when you have the ability to consolidate numerous lots together instead of sort of piecemealing one lot at a time, this is where you would want to put something like an apartment building. And so I guess I wanted to sort of turn it over to you, and Mr. Lake, you can start it. Just that's the question that I'm sort of grappling with. I feel like our land use planning has suggested this is where we would want to generally have apartment buildings because.
Yeah, okay. And the concern that many people have is that the city seems to be in a rush to argue that we need to build houses here and now. You have a flawed policy where you have handed over the locations of these to the free market. And we now have developers that are just coming in. They have the financial clout, among other things, to drive up prices. We have people who are just so fed up with the situation that they're saying, shit, excuse my French, I'm going to take the money and I'm going to move to Stony Plain. We have just, the morale within our neighborhood is so low over this right now. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, I get.
Yeah,
So I guess
yeah,
what I'm trying to figure out is
Andrew,
like,
what I want to say to you
yeah.
is, we would also dearly love to see some of this kind of development on the Stony Plain Road strip.
100%.
Do it there.
Yeah.
Develop some trust. The trust with the city is so lacking right now. That's where we want to see this. We don't want our core eroded anymore. And there's still opportunity to reach the city's density targets. Somebody talked about 16% apartments. I think we're so beyond that. And yet the decisions of past mayors and councils have just created a situation where, West Jasper Place, frankly, has been sacrificed to achieve some of the city's policies, and we're fed up with it. Do something to establish some trust. Let's see how some of this is going to unfold. People talk about Blatchford, keep getting the story. Well, that's long term. Do some stuff in Blatchford.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Council colleagues joining virtually, can you please turn your cameras on? We're running short of possible quorum. Thank you, Councillor Cardwell. Appreciate that. Councillor Wright, go ahead, please.
Thank you very much. Mr. Lakey, you'd mentioned about building, closer to the LRT and that, but I mean, it's not the city that does the building, it's the people that own the properties, and right now, I mean, we are, taking whatever we can to build there, but now there's an opportunity, unfortunately, closer to you, but do we just stop development in these areas?
We don't stop development, but we introduce a policy, an approach that is more measured, that does take into account the needs of this community. And this community is about to change so much. With the priority growth areas, the district plan, even though the district plan says that the population increase in the district is going to be X, when you analyze that, most of that happens in West Jasper Place. We will see a spike in our population, I would surmise, to be double or triple what it is right now. And there's just there's no real provision of the services, no concept of how this is going to manage. The city plan is for a 50 or a 60-year period, and we're just rushing all of this right here and now.
Okay, so, but there is a bit of a rush because we've had the size of Red Deer move into our city in the past 2 years.
But Councilor Wright, encourage that in other areas where your members are saying, oh, we can't do that because Blatchford is 30,000 and that's a long-term thing. You have the ability to come up with policies to direct where that growth is going to be. You have actually, in my opinion, failed by your free market approach, which is just causing this chaos in our neighborhood.
We've redone the zoning bylaw. We've got priority growth areas.
Well, precisely.
Okay. Okay. I don't have any other questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wright. Thank you so much for joining us. That concludes the questions to you. Now we're going to go to questions to admin, and I would also encourage once more time to my council colleagues. Councillor Cardwell, thank you so much for turning on the camera. If one or two others can do that too, please, I would appreciate. Yeah. Okay, Councillor Knack, go ahead, please.
Thanks. So let's start with just the legal piece around notification. Can we talk about the 6th lot that was added and supposedly after the fact, but can you tell me any more details?
It was added during the application, but after the advance notices had first gone out.
Okay.
So actually, if I could just ask clerks to bring up slide 4, sometimes it helps just to picture the visual on the timeline.
Okay.
So we received the application. It goes on the city's website. We send an advance notice. That was to a 60-meter radius. We start hearing feedback from the community. We then expanded the radius to 120 when we invited them to be engaged on an Engaged Edmonton page. After the Engaged Edmonton page closed, the applicant wanted to add the 6th lot. That was, the requirements there were to advertise this on the sign, so update the sign, and then we notified the community through the sign, but also through the public hearing postcard. Again, that 120-meter radius, so double the radius.
Do we have confirmation that the sign was in fact updated?
We do. July 23rd, we get a photo.
So you're required to get a photo to show the additional lot addition?
Yes.
Okay. And then the notification has that. Okay. So Mr. Johnson, I just want to double check. I mean,
Based on that evidence, I have no legal concerns. The 21-day requirement is what the zoning bylaw lays out.
and the video and getting in the way you confirm, because we get a picture, that's how you can feel comfortable on your end that they've actually fulfilled the obligation.
Yeah, Counselor, it's the best we can do, for
Okay.
sure. You know, we take that verification. Obviously, if a person is fraudulent or something, then that's a whole different level, but no allegations of the sort here. This is to rely on the information provided.
Okay. Okay. And I guess, so, well, I'll ask about it then, which is that, you know, I'm trying to think to myself how that might or might not have changed things, or how you approach that. I mean, this is sort of the conversation that I think we've been having in some other areas where we're doing one-off lot rezonings. The feedback we often get is, wouldn't it be better if we could actually consolidate? And so whether it was the 5 or 6, I guess, you've obviously judged this with 6, you were going to judge it with 5. Can you talk about how you might or might not have considered it if it had been one less? Like, would that have impacted your recommendation? My feeling is that I don't imagine it would, based off the proximity. Like, all of the reasons you've suggested support would likely have applied whether this is a 5-lot development or a 6-lot development, but
That's correct. And we had a discussion internally with the reviewing groups, and both transportation and drainage are here today, can confirm. It wouldn't have changed our technical review, and that was part of the consideration.
okay, so yeah, the technical review is clear. It still applies all of the things that were identified about utility. There was already, so when the what was it, the fire rescue had flagged the on-street fire protection, which in particular is relevant, especially based off what's happened in the last few days. Was that analysis done on the 5 units? Like, did they give our feedback on 5 units, and then for sure it would apply to 6, but I just want to get a sense, how did they judge that when it was circulated?
We would have circulated on the 5.
On the 5,
Yeah.
so that deficiency was already identified, even excluding the 6th lot.
Exactly. You know it's going to be a deficiency.
And if this were to approve, the development permit stage would have a further check-in point for what needs to be addressed by fire rescue. So they've already highlighted this. The 6th lot would be incorporated into any additional recommendation.
Yes, the 6th lot is included in this bylaw, so
Yeah.
it would change in the zoning bylaw. The development planner would see that fully, as would any additional reviewing bodies at that stage.
Yeah, so that there would be some addition, because I think on-site stormwater will be required with the proposed development. That was already with 5. So fire rescue is doing that. What about just remind me about the alley. I'm just trying to bring this back up here. What's the requirement for the alley on this?
The setback?
No, I just, are there upgrades required to the alley? I remember seeing it in the report here. Upgrades to pave standard may be required, I think we talked about. Is that correct?
Yep, currently it's gravel and may require paving.
How would we determine that? I mean, at this point, I feel like that should almost be a guarantee that it needs to be done. It's a gravel alley, we don't have many of those left.
Yep. So depending on the amount of vehicle parking spaces and stuff like that that's proposed at the development permit stage, they would make that determination whether or not.
I'm going to come back to that in a second because I'm out of time.
Thank you, Councillor Knack. Councillor Salvador?
Yeah, thank you so much.
Great,
I
thank
just
you.
wanted
Go
to come
ahead,
back to
Councillor
some
Wright, can
of
you take the chair? Thanks. Go ahead.
just wanted to come back to some of the questions around, what tools the city has to direct growth to some of those strategic locations and key nodes and corridors. I was just looking back at the maps for the priority growth areas, and just trying to see for Stony Plain Road. My recollection is Stony Plain Road itself is included, and the parcels adjacent is 150. Is it 153 or 156? Sorry, is that also included in that priority growth area?
No, Councillor, it wasn't. It was only one block off, and this one fell just outside the priority growth area.
Right, and I'm just trying to determine how close it is to that priority growth area. Let me just pull it up. When I look at it, it looks like it's sort of directly abutting it. Is that correct?
That's my interpretation. We just checked as well, yes.
Okay, yeah, so yeah, I guess I was just trying to understand. Obviously, we're trying to direct growth to those areas, and the city has taken some of those steps through the proactive upzonings and rezonings, rather. But I guess given the proximity of this parcel sort of directly across the line of that priority growth area, how does the gradient conversation factor in there? I know we've talked a lot about gradients through district planning, but maybe with the lens of priority growth areas too, is that proximity relevant?
So, Councillor Salvador, this is also it's an edge condition to the secondary corridor as well. So the district policy allows us to consider certain scales of development that can transition from high to low outside of any node, primary corridor or secondary corridor. So that's how the edge condition, that's how we reviewed this application in this case.
Got it. And within the priority growth area on 156, we would expect to see what degree of scale and size?
Councillor Salvador, I think for the priority growth area, most of the area was zoned to approximately 4 stories. We did increase it to a potential, I think, of RMH 23, maybe 6 stories along that corridor.
Okay, so similar, but I guess slightly lower.
A slight increase, yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. That helps provide some clarity and context for me. Thank you.
Are you done, Councillor Salvador?
Yes, thanks.
Could you move another round for Councillor Knack, please?
Oh, yes, happy to move another round.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Please vote.
Just waiting on one vote. Councillor Stevenson?
Yeah, sorry, Councillor Stevenson is yes.
Thank you. We have all the votes.
Display the votes, please. And that is carried. Go ahead, Councillor Knack.
Thank you. Just going back to the alley piece, because appreciating we have open option parking now, and this is 2-minute walk from the LRT. The question that might come up is if they have limited parking, then you might not have as much alley traffic beyond maybe commercial traffic, garbage trucks, things like that. Would we still be requiring an upgrade to the alley? Because I think that's, it's different if this was an existing paved alley, but it is a gravel alley. So I just want to get a sense of how we're judging that.
With the construction, there's the possibility there'd be damage to the alley, stuff like that. So a lot of this would be reviewed kind of with the site plans once you have the development permit in. It's difficult at this time to speculate exactly how.
I guess. Sorry, Mr. Johnson, you have more to say.
Maybe I could help. So
Yeah.
the law requires proportionality, and I think that's a bit of what the ambiguous part
Yeah,
here.
I get
If this is a very substantial development, it's going to be very easy to impose an alley. If this is a very minimal development, it's harder. And so you need the specifics of the development permit to truly answer that question.
Because it's currently, it could be zoned RM16, then they could choose to go do
Exactly.
townhomes, which, like we see a couple blocks to the east, which might have a different
Which is why
impact than
it's
if you were
very
doing.
difficult to say this will require an alley upgrade. This will
Yeah.
likely require an alley upgrade. It's a very large
And that was
site,
gonna be
but
my
I don't-
question, because I feel like 6 lots regardless, I feel like that's a,
Very good chance, but I
Yeah.
think committee and administration, that would be difficult.
I
because
understand we
it's the
can't
planner
commit,
has to-
I'm trying to get a sense of like, what would potentially be the considerations on that, and so I get it, but if for some reason someone did RM16 and then chose to do 6 duplex developments, you might not then trigger the alley connection the same way you would on a larger development.
Probably would be difficult to defend that condition.
Sure,
yes.
I get it, okay. Okay, that's helpful context for me. Ms. Petrin, or anyone, but I just feel like you were on an email thread from April. We were in the process of negotiating a land purchase for some additional park space between 98th and 100th Ave. Do you have any sense, I know it's probably 7:30 PM on a Friday night. I don't know if the people who would be answering that question are here, but do you have any knowledge on that?
Councillor Knack, I don't have an update on that, but as you know, there's intention to acquire land for a park space. The district planning policy directs that as well. So we are working through those negotiations, and I can follow up with you next week.
And the last update, to be clear, that was not the intention anymore. We had started down the path of actually making a purchase. So we are, ideally, we either finish securing or for some reason that particular
sale
deal
fell
went through.
through.
But we were in the process of actually looking to buy for the first, because we've been talking about it for a long time. There was actually potentially a purchase. So
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah,
so
I just don't know if that's been finalized.
Okay, but at least I can say, yeah, at least we know that we're finally making progress. And I guess I'll ask the question, let's assume for the moment that one were to not have gone through. I don't know if it did or not, we don't have that answer. Part of, I think, what the frustration had been is it felt like, especially because, you're seeing a lot of home purchases in the city, is the city, are we ever going to exercise the option if the price always feels like it's a little outside of what the market rate might be, and were we willing to then consider that still to make sure we fulfill our obligations? And so how are we approaching that broadly speaking? It doesn't need to be specific to here, but that's the application before us, so.
Yeah, generally, the city would look to pay market value, and it's through a negotiated process. So if there was this feeling that was getting beyond market value, then there'd be a decision to make whether we'd continue to pursue that or not. But I don't know that that's the case or that's happening here yet for us.
I think the worry, and maybe the follow-up, is that, appreciating that while Edmonton still does have a significant affordability advantage over most cities, there is the concern right now that when certain lots are going on for sale, folks are putting in asking, or a price that's higher than asking, or higher than what would potentially be market. And does that mean we would never consider purchasing, or would that cause you to have to come to council out of a different conversation? Because if every lot that goes for sale is going above $50,000 above market, then we're never going to actually follow through on what we've said we would do to the community. And so how do you tackle that recognizing we're in a sort of a rapid growth situation?
Yeah, I think potentially there's, it's through that negotiation of a sale agreement to finalize a deal. In this particular instance, as it relates to West Jasper Place, they'll certainly get more information for you to follow up on that.
Okay. Again, just confirming, so to Councillor Salvador's question, everything around from about 93rd to 100th is 6-story development, I think, under the approved priority growth area, correct?
Yes, I just checked again, RMH 23.
That's what I thought, 6-story. Okay, I'm out of time.
Thank you, Councillor Knack. So that concludes the questions to administration. And before we go to new information, I have asked clerk if there's a flexibility to extend the order till 9:30, but not beyond 9:30, right, clerk? So think about that. Once we're done with this item, we'll make a motion to extend the order till 9:30 to finish off as much as we can today. Okay. Okay, any new, I'll ask at this time if council members have any questions or new information to proponents or to administration. Yeah, only council members can ask questions on that. There's no, okay. Okay. Councillor Knack?
Sorry, kick me off. Mr. Lakey, do you have something you'd wanted to add?
Yes, I do want to add something. Somebody mentioned that the consultation requirements were met because a sign was put out. Well, if you look at these signs, for one, the change in adding a single lot in terms of the size of the print, the font on this is indistinguishable. I don't think that that's a fair kind of notification. And the fact that, you know, everybody's comments in the Engage Edmonton were based upon the 5-lot situation, and that was cut off, and now you've added a 6th lot. You are just not being fair to residents. You are, you know, kowtowing to the developers here, and you're coming up with your own excuse for why you've done what you've done.
Can I ask you a blunt question?
Yes.
Would that have changed your feedback on this if it was only 5? Would you be supporting this if this was 5 lots?
I wouldn't be supporting this if it were
2 lots, right?
no, not without the
Yeah.
the analysis within our neighborhood and addressing some of the other issues.
Yeah, I guess that's my question, is that I'm wondering how that would materially change our discussion today if it was 5 lots, 6 lots, or even 4 lots or 3 lots. Because I think, you know, when we had the discussion on 153rd Street, I think there was a fulsome conversation about what some folks were comfortable with row housing, some folks didn't even want to see that, some were comfortable with more. I'm just not sure that this would change the feeling of, for those that have concerns, right? I mean, I've talked to some in the neighborhood who support it, so I've talked to some who don't, including yourself. And so that's why I'm just trying to get a sense of because if it was 5 lots or 4 lots,
Mr. Knack, the broader situation is that because of the city's policies, we have lost control over our neighborhood. We now have 60 and counting, if you multiplexes, if you count those that are constructed, those that are occupied, and those that are planned. These are just growing like mushrooms. And they're not really addressing affordability per se. I would argue that the thing that's driving these is the way that the financial incentive can be jiggered almost like a Ponzi scheme, where the ultimate goal is to flip these and get the CMHC financing and go off and buy another lot. That's indicative of what we object to, and that's why we feel violated.
Yeah, and so I understand sort of that impact. I guess what I keep coming back to is that, like, even before my time on council, around LRT stations, this is the type of development that was typically proposed. Like, within a 2-minute walk, I guess what I'm trying to figure out is, like, I am struggling with how, with a development that is a 2-minute walk from the LRT, why this wouldn't be the perfect location for an apartment building.
But do we need that level of densification? There's been talk of certain targets. If we're looking at this from a
I think we are
broader
swearing away
district
from new information.
basis,
We're swearing away from new information. This is, I question new information, so if you could focus on that.
Okay. Yeah. All right, then I guess I don't have additional information. Yeah. Okay, thanks, Mayor So.
Thank you. Okay, all right. So that concludes the questions on new information. We are ready to close the public hearing. Thank you.
Closure of the public
Second.
hearing.
Okay, please vote to close the public hearing.
I'm a yes, Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Councillor Wright.
Councillor Stevenson is yes.
Thank you, Councillor Stevenson. We have all the votes.
Display the votes, please. That is carried.
Mayor Sohi, I'll move first reading of item 3.31.
Second.
Thank you. We have first reading on the floor. Anyone to speak? Councillor Knack to close.
Thanks, Mayor Sohi. So I brought up a public hearing we had a few months ago on 153rd Street and 95th Avenue, and there was a substantially larger portion of folks from the community who were here in opposition to that, as I think there was a lot of concern about the distance from that to the LRT and a larger apartment building. For a variety of reasons, council approved it, including a commitment that development was going to be focused on row housing. which the development application, which went in on April, is in fact delivering on what had been committed to, and I think addressed not everyone in the community's concerns, but those who were comfortable with row housing. They will now be seeing that when it's under construction. During that hearing, I also talked about sort of the part of why I was open to sort of really pushing on the row housing is because I think there were sites closer that would make more sense for a larger scale development. And you know, there is a tension point in West Jasper Place. I'm not going to lie. I've been out and I'll talk to some folks in the community who are very open to a lot of change. Folks who have been the beneficiary of some of the new infill development, those living in those 8-unit developments. This is one of the communities that's seen the greatest number of 8-unit developments over a longer period of time because they had a lot of corner lots that got done over the last 6, 7, 8 years compared to most communities. And you go to talk to folks there, and it's a good helm for them, right? But we're also coming up against the tension of folks who have been there for a long time who really see this as a major threat to their homes, to their investment. And I think for me, when I look at this one, this is a project that is legitimately 2-minute walk from our future LRT, you know, 1 block away from the LRT. This is where we should be putting density. When we've been in the debates, I'm looking at Councillor Jans because I feel like we've gone through a lot of debates in his ward recently where we've had one-off rezoning applications for RSM 12. And then we hear from a lot of community members saying, why don't you consolidate lots? Why don't you get the things right beside the LRT? This is the one where we're legitimately checking all of those boxes. West Jasper Place hasn't actually. You know, the Tegler Terrace is probably the newest apartment building in the community, which was built many years ago. So they actually don't have a newer apartment building. So I do not believe that this is sort of an onslaught in the neighborhood. This maybe would hopefully create a situation where some of the older apartment buildings also start to modernize and update, and maybe take advantage of some of that additional zoning as well. But I think one development that is 1 block from the LRT station in a consolidated 6 lots feels like a very reasonable and logical place where we would put more density, and something that council has been supporting, not just this council, but for many councils before. So I would support this, and I'd encourage my colleagues to support this.
Thank you. Councillor Knack, please vote.
We have all the votes.
Display the votes, please. That is carried.
Mayor Sohi, I'll move second reading of item 3.31.
Seconded by Councillor Jans.
Second. Yep. Second.
Please vote.
We have all the votes.
Display the votes, please. That is carried.
Mayor Sohi, I'll move consideration of third reading on item 3.31.
Second by Councillor Jans.
Yep. Second.
Thank you. Please vote.
We have all the votes.
Display the votes, please. That is carried.
And Mayor Sohi, I'll move third reading of bylaw 21127.
Second.
Please vote for final reading.
We have all the votes.
Display the votes, please. That is carried. What I'm going to suggest, if somebody move to extend the order of the day till 9:30 p.m.
So moved.
That will give us the opportunity to hear, hopefully we'll strive to hear from everyone who has registered to speak on both sides before we break, right? So please move by Councillor Tang, second by Councillor Jans. Please vote.
I'm a yes.
Thank you, Councillor Jans. We have all the votes.
Display the votes, please. That is carried. We'll go to, our next item is 3.32 Windsor Park. We'll go to administration for a presentation.
Good evening. This application proposes to rezone sites in the Windsor Park neighborhood from the neighborhood commercial zone and small-scale residential zone to the mixed-use zone and neighborhood mixed-use zone. The mixed-use zone proposes a commercial frontage modifier, a maximum height of 88 meters, or roughly 25 stories, and a floor area ratio of 11. Next slide, please. The sites are located in close proximity to numerous amenities and employment centers, including multimodal transportation options, park space, and the university campus, all of which can be reached within 10 minutes walking distance. Next slide, please. The mixed-use zone at the proposed height of 88 meters will allow for a significantly larger building with an expanded list of uses when compared to the existing zoning. The regulations of the MU zone promote building design that enhances the public realm, helping to create walkable destinations at a scale inviting to pedestrians. The model on the right shows one potential design configuration of the MU and MUN zones. Detailed designs are completed at the development permit stage. Tall buildings, by their very nature, produce larger impacts, particularly in the form of longer shadows. These impacts are mitigated by regulations in the MU zone that adhere to the best practices for tall building design. These include a slim floor plate, limitations on floor area ratio, and a podium tower style built form that results in a podium height which forms a comfortable street wall while the tower itself is set back, becoming less noticeable at the ground level. The site's context is well suited for a tall high-rise this scale of development. It transitions to the existing low-rise to the west and proposed low-rise to the north. It is surrounded by roadways on 4 sides, which act as a buffer and help to reduce the impacts of the proposed redevelopment on adjacent properties. The MUN zone will allow for a low-rise development with additional commercial opportunities and a larger interior setback of 3 meters when compared to the current RS zone. Next slide, please. Through engagement, we heard feedback from 210 residents, with 167 in opposition, 23 in support, and 20 with questions about the proposal. Common comments included that the proposed height is too tall, casting shadows and blocking out sunlight for neighbors, that it will change the neighborhood character and add to congestion in the area. The residents who are in support believe the site is ideal for larger development due to its proximity to the university and other amenities, and that it can help meet housing demand and allow for commercial amenities in the neighborhood. Next slide, please. In the Scona District Plan, the site is located within and directly abutting the University Garneau major node. In the node, more intense forms of development are expected. Specifically, this proposed tall high-rise is supported by the policy given its location on an arterial roadway and having a larger site size and context appropriate for transitions to the surrounding area. The site's context is well suited for this scale of development. Next slide, please. Administration recommends that City Council approve this bylaw. It is compatible with the surrounding land uses, and it proposes a tall high-rise within a major node where this type of development is expected, and it enables more Edmontonians to live close to where they work within the employment center of the University of Alberta. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Folks in favor, Ian O'Donnell, please come down. Speaker number 1, Marcelo Figueira, speaker number 2. Mason Van Der O are here? Mason Van Der O, okay. Speaker number 3, speaker number 4, Dinesh Deshpande. Speaker number 5, Kelsey proud home, right? Speaker number 7, Mark Huberman, joining virtually to answer questions only. Jacob DeWong.
Hello, I'm virtual now.
Okay. Eric Camariachi.
Yep, I'm here virtually.
Thank you. Bradley Thiessen. Dolly Spada Montefiore. Okay, great. Ian O'Donnell, please start.
Good evening, Mayor Sohi and Council. My name is Ian O'Donnell, and I am the Development Manager at Westridge Pacific. We are community builders. We have been in business for 15 years and have successfully delivered nearly 3 million square feet of housing and mixed-use projects across Canada, including around 1,000 units currently either under construction or in some form of planning at the moment here in Edmonton, and another 2.5 million square feet of projects across Canada. We are proud to call Edmonton home, with our head office located in our growing downtown, which supports our growing team of over 100 talented co-workers who help support our projects in Edmonton, Calgary, Ottawa, Kelowna, Vancouver, and Richmond. Our goal is to find exceptional infill sites that are near major nodes of employment or post-secondary institutions as drivers for housing demand, that are highly walkable, near LRT and major bus routes, and that are amenity-rich. Our Windsor Heights project aligns with the new city plan and district plan, is located within the Nodes and Corridors plan, has a traffic impact assessment supported by the City of Edmonton administration, is compatible with the surrounding land use, promotes housing diversity and affordability, offers a range of housing from studios to family-friendly 3-bedroom units, has a tower design that is slimmer than normal to minimize shadow impacts on neighbors. And we have provided ample surface parking for future commercial uses to minimize any impact to city streets and residential neighborhood. We've worked hard to make sure this proposal is not just consistent with Council's planning framework, but also delivers the kind of thoughtful, livable neighborhood design Edmontonians expect. As our two CEOs, Richie Lamb and David Sanch, will share, we are doers and city-building partners. We do not intend to sit on these sites for years, but rather work towards refining and developing the vision in short order. We believe that in doing so, we can continue to be a major contributor to helping the City of Edmonton achieve not only its housing goals, but infill housing goals in strategic locations that are appropriate to receive such proposals. I would like to thank the Windsor Park Community League and its board and other public members who have come to many of our open houses and to share their perspectives over the last year to help shape and refine our proposal. And we hope that we've been responsive to them with many of the little changes that we've done to the project. I'd also like to offer a sincere thank you to administration for their considerable work in helping support and guide this rezoning to where it is today. We cannot do what we do without their assistance. Talking to our leasing manager of our other projects in the area, I just wanted to share a couple quick statistics of modern, contemporary housing in the area. Our West Garneau project, a few blocks away, has 0% vacancy. Our University Heights project, a few blocks south, has 0.5% vacancy. The new 112 development, just across from the University Hospital, is 100% leased. It's very clear that there is exceptional demand right now for quality infill projects that serve not only students, but those working in the area and those wanting to come and live in that area. We've heard from the University of Alberta student VP external, Abdul Abbasi, and he talked about needing more options for housing in the area and a lack of supply for students and faculty. Finally, while change is hard and neighborhood evolution inevitable, we hope that our proposal today is reflective of the quality of design rigor that you expect of exceptional sites. This isn't about asking for an exception, it's about helping council deliver on its vision in exactly the places identified for growth. Thank you for your time today, and I'd be happy to take any questions.
Thank you so much. Next, we go to Marcelo Figueira.
Can we go to the next slide, please? Thank you. Good evening, Mayor Soul and Council. I'm Marcelo Figueira, planning consultant for this project. I understand how housing, while increasingly urgent, is also deeply personal. For me, thoughtful infill comes from lived experience. I grew up in towers in São Paulo, where density shaped my childhood. As I remember, it wasn't just affordable, it was vibrant and communal. It meant a place for kids, teenagers, elders, and the joy of the neighborhood amenities as the city grew around us. That's why I believe in this project and why we're passionate about bringing thoughtful infill to Windsor Park. To this end, our team will walk you through the project evolution so you have clarity on what's before you today. To start, let's look at why a tower in this location should not feel like too much, too fast, but rather expected. Next slide, please. Much of the debate you hear today isn't really about the height of the tower. It's about change that feels like too much, too fast versus thoughtful infill. Although change can feel overwhelming, the difference between too much, too fast and thoughtful infill isn't height and density. It's how infill is planned, designed, supported by policy, services and amenities to enhance livability. This project delivers exactly the balance Edmontonians have been asking for: growth where policy directs it, in a primary node, rather than putting extra pressure on quiet interior streets. So this tower is not out of place. It's thoughtful city building, implementing growth as expected in the city plan. Next slide, please. Another comment that comes up repeatedly is, why not downtown or Blatchford first? The reality is that developing these areas doesn't replace the need for housing where jobs, amenities, and services already exist. Prioritizing should come at the expense of choices because people want options. This isn't an either or, it's a both and. This project adds options in employment, education, and healthcare while providing an elegant infill solution. Our design reflects this thoughtful approach. This tower is carefully set back from its surrounding, stepping down in scale to create a respectful transition. The link in low-rise adds active street edges, commercial bays, and space for small business to serve both new and long-term residents. Next slide, please. In addition to meeting policy, we have also addressed the full range of technical requirements for a project of this size. Our technical reports consider cumulative impacts, not just as rezoning in isolation. This gives confidence that municipal service and mobility infrastructure can support this level of growth, so we can phase the project accordingly. So let me now address the project phasing. We have aligned each phase of this project with the city process. Phase 1 is before you today. It's a rezoning. Phase 2 includes closing the alley and utility relocation. We will come and return to council for council consideration on this item in the future. And phase 3 includes building a new alley to the north and site consolidation. But at the end of the day, this project works with or without the alley closure. But we are sharing the full phasing strategy up front because this is about transparency and accountability for us. Next slide, please. In closing, the rezoning decision today stands on its own. With rezoning, we can finalize design, advance financing, and deliver housing that is scalable and fully aligns with Council's policy framework. But for me, this project isn't an abstract policy compliance, not checkbox. It's a lived reality. In my experience living in dense neighborhoods, towers did not take away character, they embrace and enhance it. Approving this rezoning honors the city plan, district policy, and the recent amendments to the zoning bylaw. It keeps growth predictable, not piecemeal. This is a thoughtful city building opportunity before you, neither too much nor too fast. Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us. Next, we'll go to Mason Van Der Oel.
Next slide, please.
Turn your mic on, please.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Good evening, Mayor Sohi and members of council. My name is Mason Van Der Oel. Now that you've heard about the project sequencing and phasing, I'd like to turn to the question of policy. This project is not about exceptions or bending the rules. It is about aligning development with the city's own vision, policies, and plans. I will walk you through how this proposal fits squarely within the district policy and city plan, and how it has been tested against technical design studies to confirm that it works in practice, not just on paper. Next slide, please. This site's location is a rare and important opportunity. The site sits within the University Garneau major node, directly adjacent to the University of Alberta and close to the Stollery Children's Hospital, some of Edmonton's biggest employers. It is also beside high-frequency transit and within walking distance of services and amenities. These are exactly the conditions described in the city plan, the SCONA district plan, and the district policy when they identify where higher density belongs. Our proposal does not stand apart from these frameworks. It is an expression of them. In fact, the zoning bylaw amendments this summer complement this policy direction. They manage change inside neighborhoods, while proposals like ours focus growth where it's planned. Next slide, please. The height and scale of our proposed development align with the direction set out in both the district policy and the SCONA district plan. The district policy explicitly supports tall high-rises on arterial roads within major nodes, provided there is an appropriate transition to the surrounding community. That is exactly what we have proposed here. The tall high-rise is located along 87th Avenue, set 50 meters away from the nearest single detached home to the north, and 35 meters from homes to the east and west. Accordingly, our proposed rezoning to the mixed-use zone is consistent with this guidance. On the north site, directly adjacent to the major node, a sharp reduction in height from 25 to 4 stories is proposed through the application of the neighborhood mixed-use zone. Our approach creates a 4-story link building that steps down in scale and provides the transition the policy requires. It is a careful approach to adhering to Council's planning framework. Next slide, please. In the city plan, the role of major nodes is to capitalize on transit, support higher density, and provide complete communities with a mix of uses. What we are proposing here is exactly that. This rezoning is not an outlier to city policy. It is the city plan in action. But you may hear tonight that this is happening too fast. Maybe let's pause until impacts are clearer. In reality, planning works on long timelines, and rezoning is just the first step for a development to come to fruition. Without this step, we won't be working towards alleviating the housing crisis. The truth is that the cumulative impact of this development has already been tested. Traffic, infrastructure, sun shadow, and environmental studies looked at existing and approved projects, not just this site. I'll provide more details next. Bottom line, if we wait for every building to be occupied before the next is approved, Edmonton falls behind on housing when it's most needed. Next slide, please. The MU and MUN zones were purposefully selected to align with both the site context and policy direction. MU for the tower site, which enables the tall high-rise mixed use, and MUN for the north site, which enables a neighborhood-scale link building. This is the transition that the policy requires, embedded directly into the zoning. And this is not just theory. Our application is supported by an urban design brief, a sun shadow study, and a wind impact assessment focused on pedestrian comfort. Together, they confirm that the building meets design expectations, minimizes shadow impacts, and ensures comfortable street-level conditions. The infrastructure analysis, transportation, utilities, drainage, and environmental assessment were done using cumulative impact so that council and residents can see how this project fits with other developments underway. Next slide, please. In closing, this proposal is not just consistent with policy, it is the policy brought to life. It reflects the district policy, the SCONA district plan, and the city plan, while also being tested against technical and design standards to ensure it works for the neighborhood. The MU and MUN zones provide the right intensity within the major node and respectful transition beyond it. This is a rare opportunity to build exactly where the city has said growth belongs, and to do it in a way that is evidence-based, transparent, and responsible. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Next, we will go to Dinesh Deshpande.
Good evening, Mayor Sohi and members of council. My name is Jnanesh Deshpande. I'm principal with Green Space Alliance. So far, you have heard about how this project aligns with the policy. I'm going to talk about how those policies translate into good architecture and urban design. Specifically, I'll talk about height transitions, pedestrian-oriented features, streetscape elements, and housing demand. Next slide, please. As you can see on this slide, the design achieves appropriate transition, and it does so by doing three things. First, the proposed link building, which is located between the lower density residential and the tower itself, it provides appropriate separation between the two. Secondly, the 4-story podium creates pedestrian-friendly street wall. And finally, we are using appropriate setbacks and step backs that minimize the building's visual impact. So in a way, all these aspects ensure that the tower fits into the surrounding context. And that is why the district policy defines tall, high-rise areas so we can avoid ad hoc rezonings and deliver design that residents and council can trust. And this project achieves that objective. Next slide, please. Shadow impact is one of the most common concerns that we had heard during engagement, and that is why our design includes a slim tower floor plate. So shadows are narrower and they move quickly throughout the day. As shown on this slide, sidewalks around the site continue to receive at least 5 hours of direct sunlight at both spring and fall equinoxes, which was quite important for us, and it was achieved through design. Next slide, please. So in addition to providing retail frontages along public roadways, we have designed the alleys as shared space with upgraded paving and active retail frontages with glazing and lighting. This provides opportunities for improved connections and community interactions. For council, in our opinion, this is important because it shows that this development is able to create environment that prioritizes people. Next slide, please. So during engagement, many people asked what this project really offers to the community. Here are the 3 key things that the project offers. This project focuses on density where it belongs, along arterial road frontages instead of scattering it throughout the neighborhood's interior. It brings everyday services closer to residents, supporting local businesses. It provides enhanced walkability and streetscape along public roadways and alley spaces. It is a tower that also delivers amenities. Next slide, please. The vacancy rates in this area are low. Edmonton has seen soft vacancy before, but rents still increased because the units were not located where people really needed them the most, near campus areas, jobs, and transit. Even with new projects in the pipeline, supply is still facing short in transit-rich areas. This proposal helps to close that gap. In conclusion, the benefits of this project are very clear. More housing choices in the right place, better pedestrian environments, and local amenities that make daily life easier. This project is not just the more of the same. It is about providing housing where it makes sense, designed in a way that respects neighbors, strengthens the streetscape, and works for people. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for joining us. Next, we will go to Kelsey Proudhome.
Hello, Mayor and members of Council. My name is Kelsey Prudhomme, and my role is to walk you through how we responded to community feedback. In other words, what we did to complement the city's engagement efforts. From the outset, our approach has been simple. Listen carefully, respond thoughtfully, and adjust the plan where possible to reflect community feedback. Engagement was ongoing and multi-layered. We met 3 times with the Windsor Park Community League, hosted 2 open houses, conducted 2 surveys, and stayed in regular contact with the League's planning representative. These were not just box-ticking exercises. Our engagement process has honored the trust placed in us to listen and adapt, and the final proposal upholds that social contract with the community. Next slide, please. We heard clearly from residents that the original zoning proposed for the north site and the tower's height were key points of concern. In response, we made 3 significant changes. First, we changed the north site zoning to MUN, neighborhood mixed use, which better aligns with the area's context and planning direction. Second, we reduced the tower height from the original concept to create a more balanced profile on the skyline. And third, we reduced the commercial floor area to alleviate traffic in the alleys. Concerns about traffic were addressed through a transportation impact assessment, while infrastructure capacity was confirmed through detailed analysis of water, sanitary, and drainage systems. The takeaway is clear. This proposal has been stress tested against the very concerns raised. Next slide, please. Shadows and privacy were another set of concerns. In response, we adjusted the tower placement and podium massing to minimize shadow impacts on adjacent homes and sidewalks. We've provided detailed shadow studies for key times of year so council and residents can see exactly what to expect. We've also had one-on-one conversations at our 2 open houses and at the city-sponsored open house to address key themes either missed or underplayed. In short, the project you see today is not the same as the one first presented. It's been shaped in meaningful ways by community feedback. While it's impossible to address every concern, we have listened, adapted, and improved this proposal. Next slide, please. Next, I'd like to make sure you hear from Edmontonians who support this project. This is not a scientific sample, but a meaningful reminder that many Edmontonians see real value in this project. They're students, parents, and newcomers who told us this proposal is exactly the kind of growth Edmonton needs. They've submitted thoughtful comments, but their voices are likely to be underrepresented today, and their feedback diluted in the summary documents you've received. So I want to share what these Edmontonians said in their own words. Next slide, please. Several respondents connected this project to broader housing and transportation goals. They see this as a step towards a fairer, greener city. Concerned Citizen 23 said, quote, "As a homeowner in this community, I value the chance for my kids to grow up in a truly walkable neighborhood, one that isn't priced out of reach for families or younger generations. Increasing housing supply through a thoughtfully designed high-rise is not only makes the area more affordable for those looking to put down roots, but also ensures easy access to transit, shops, and services without needing a car. This kind of sustainable, inclusive growth benefits our neighborhood's long-term vitality and helps create a complete, livable community for everyone." Next slide, please. Supporters spoke about the fairness of creating homes close to where people work and study. Karma Police 42 stated, quote, "Adding density in this prime location will help address the chronic housing supply shortage we're facing, and it's a critical step towards making the area more affordable for renters and newcomers alike. As someone who has previously rented in this neighborhood, and as a student myself, I know firsthand how hard it can be to find a place that doesn't break the bank while still offering easy access to transit, jobs, and educational institutions. Now is the time to move forward and embrace the future of this community by supporting the growth we desperately need." Next slide, please. So, what did we do? We listened, we adapted, and we improved. While some are concerned, others see this as a vital step towards an affordable, inclusive, and sustainable Edmonton. Council has the opportunity today to recognize both sides of that conversation and to support a project that is ready, thoughtful, and aligned with the city's goals. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Next, we will go to Jacob De Wong.
Hello again, everyone. Good evening. So I support this project, and I'll begin again with talking about housing itself. So as you all know, we're in a housing emergency. We need homes of all types, and especially in this area. I live in one of the university neighborhoods too, and the pressure on housing here is immense. There's a ton of demand for people to live in this area, and it's no surprise why. It's next to one of the biggest attractors of employment, and there's a lot of students at the U of A who are just increasing their enrollment, and it benefits people a lot to live close to where they work, where they study. They don't need to own a car, or they can drive less. That is a huge, huge savings there, a huge addition to quality of life. And this area needs a ton more student and workforce housing and affordable options. And then these days, that's no longer the single family home or a bungalow. That's apartments in this area. So I'm going to skip a little bit to save a little bit of time, but I'll go to my second point, which is the policy and the area. So this is a major node, and this is where everyone seems to agree when we hear throughout the debate that this is the place in major nodes where it makes sense to have high density and where it should be appropriate. In a major node, on an arterial road, on a corner lot, everyone seems to agree. It's right next to the U of A, like literally 1 block away. It's near the center of the major node. It's 10 minutes walk from 2 LRT stations. It's in the area where people can live without a car. And it's in a neighborhood, a mature neighborhood, whose population has decreased from 50 years ago. This is part of revitalizing these neighborhoods and bringing their population up and making them growing again. In addition to this, it'll add much needed commercial in this area, adding more commercial than was there previously. And that's really what will help people go about everyday lives and living in these, I won't say living in their neighborhoods where they can walk to everything they need. So in my view, this proposal will enhance the character of the neighborhood, will make it a better place to live for everyone, and house a lot of people, give a lot of people homes in the places where they want to live. And then I also want to have a general comment. We've heard recently from councillors as the certain date is upcoming, talking about what they plan to do for infill. And we've heard a lot of councillors say that they want to decrease the prevalence of mid-block infill. Specifically, councillors Jan, Znack, and Cartmill have said, let's focus.
Just don't get into future speculations, please. Go ahead.
I'm just saying what they have said in the past.
Okay.
So these councillors in the past have said that they prefer to not build mid-block or build less mid-block, and they prefer to build near transit, focus density near transit, near LRT, near post-secondary institutions, and in nodes and corridors on arterial roads. Well, this is what it looks like. You want to build less over a larger area, you're going to build more in a smaller area. That's not anything complicated. That's just simple math. So it's easy to say build near transit, near post-secondary institutions in the abstract, but this is the choice you've got to grapple with. We say that we want to focus density in specific areas. This is what it looks like. This is what the plan looks like. This is what councillors, some councillors' remarks looks like. And I hope you vote that way too. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Next, we'll go to Eric Camriachi.
Good evening, Mayor and Councilors. My name is Eric Camarachi, and I'm here today in support of this rezoning and this development. I don't have a ton to say or to add what Jacob already said, so I'll keep it short, especially on a Friday night. I think this rezoning makes sense. It's across the street from the university, it's close to transit, and it's in a major node. There's already 2 mid-rises across 117 as well, so it fits right in. And in addition to what the developers already said, they've already done the consulting. They've done all the work, so I think it makes sense. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Questions, colleagues? No, Bradley and Dolly are not here. Okay, questions, colleagues? Thank you so much for your presentations. Please step back to your chairs, and we're going to go to members in opposition. David Lynch, speaker number 1, please come down. Susanna Biro.
Yes, I'm here remotely.
Thank you. And Melanie Biro?
I am here.
Thank you. How about Danica Wolko?
Wolko, I'm here.
Thank you. Julia Parker?
Yes, I'm here remotely.
Thank you. Joe Miller? Thank you, Joe. Sandra Duxbury? Sandra Duxbury? Okay, Sandra's not here. Oh, there you are. Thank you, Sandra. Sorry. Ilona Biro?
I'm here, thanks.
Thank you. Karen Hughes? Thank you. Please come down. Rolf Myers? Please come down. Chad Oman? Chad Oman not here. Christy Green? Thank you. Please come down. Arthur Clark on behalf of Nimrit Niger? Okay, Clark, okay. Elaine Scholes? Sorry. Sabina Crashy?
I'm here.
Thank you.
Remotely.
Thank you. Okay. We'll start with David Lynch. You want to sit down, David, or you want to stand up? No, that's fine. Your preference. Your preference.
So Mayor Sohi, City Councilors, thank you for this opportunity to speak to you today. Could I go to the next slide, please? Well, there's a presentation that should be up there. And just one more slide. Thank you. I provided 7 pages of detailed written comments. It's in your council written correspondence files that you have received. In that correspondence, I laid out these 5 topics with respect to this development. I'll only speak, given the limitations of time, to a couple of these today. Next slide, please. And so I want first to address impact assessment and my view from looking at it that sometimes we cannot see the forest for the trees, in that the looking of the individual projects misses many of the other projects that were recently approved around it and are still in development. That is the forest. And so the impact of rezoning to build a 25 or 27-story tower with 270 rental units should not be viewed in isolation. There are 3 other projects of mid and high rise right in that area, 2 of them under construction from the same company, Westridge Pacific. I'm not criticizing the project, I'm just saying there's a lot going on right in that one area right now. Can we have the next slide, please? And I've taken the slide from the council package, page 1741, and just added a few things to it to show the forest. And so the forest here, the red in the middle, is the current project under discussion for rezoning. 27 stories, I was told, at one of the open houses, 270 units. If you look on the right-hand side, you see a 6-story, 134 units, occupancy, my estimate is 2027. Westridge can clarify that, but I think it's 2027. If you look on the left-hand side, you now see 4 to 6 stories right in front of the school, 172 units, occupancy in 2026. Note that project projects into a quiet street, unlike the comment that was just made a few minutes ago by Mr. Figueroa that they wouldn't do that, they're just building on the edges. Westridge has built a major project projecting into a quiet street right in front of the school. So just for clarity on that. Then you also see a project, 11 stories, 140 units, which just had occupancy in 2024. Those other 2 projects, not yet, and there's a small condo project. Now, when you look at that cluster all in one location, when you look at these shadowing studies that were provided, and they're very good shadowing studies, do not just look at the blue, which is the tower in the shadowing. Look at all the other shadowing, because most of that other shadowing is caused by these other projects. If these 3 projects had all come to you together, you would have examined the total impact of the 3 projects. Instead, the projects have come one at a time over 2 years, 2 years ago, 1 year ago, this year, and that is the cumulative impact that is occurring by these projects. You need, as council, to look at that cumulative impact. This is shadowing. In addition to shadowing, there's about 700 cars between these 4 projects that are going into the back alleys. Where are they all going to exit to? I know there's design studies on this. There is significant concern about the safety of the school because it's a congested area to start with. We will not know those impacts until those projects under construction are completed. Nobody's debating that that is a site that is right for high density. The issue is how fast, how soon. You heard that comment earlier. I'm saying that because you can't determine some of those impacts until the occupancy occurs and we see where all the cars are going. Maybe we'll need street lights in the alleys. I don't know. There's going to be a lot of things that are going to occur there which will settle out by the end of 2027 or 2028. And so this is the forest. You're looking at one of the trees today. You've looked at some of those other trees earlier. So moving on to the next slide, the cumulative impact I've already mentioned. This is just my recommendation, is no project should be approved before about 2028, once we can see all the cumulative impacts that are occurring. I also recommend for your policy that you should have that in your policy to do cumulative impact assessments. It's best practices in many industries. I recognize my timing is getting tight. The issue of densification, next slide please. Yes, thank you. What is the target for the neighborhood? We don't know. We know the city plan, we know the SCONA plan, we don't have a target for the Windsor Park neighborhood. Because of that, we're on a density journey and we don't know what the destination is. This has bred the frustration, cynicism, and anger. Next please, and that's not good for anybody. Go to the next slide, please. This is an updated statistics on the neighborhood size, and what you see, we used to be 100% single family with 325 in North Windsor Park. Now,
Thank
guess
you
my
so much.
time is over.
Thank you so
We
much.
have 897.
Okay, next we will go to Susanna Bureau. Please go ahead, Susanna Bureau.
Sorry, yes, just give me a moment here. I've lost my presentation. Oh,
It's right here. That's the one?
yes,
Okay,
yes, but I've got speaking notes. Just 1 second, please. I'm so sorry.
I can go to Melanie next if you want to wait.
Oh, I've got her notes with mine as it happens. Could you go to the?
I'll go to Danica then. Please, Danica, go ahead, please.
Thank you.
Danica Walco, please go ahead.
Hi, good evening, everybody. A tall high-rise of approximately 270 units, we don't know precisely how many units, that hasn't been decided yet, would add a significant burden to traffic flow and safety for pedestrians, cyclists, and cars. We live just a few houses away from the 116th Street and Saskatchewan Drive intersection and can attest that the traffic congestion here during commute times and peak class times is already extreme. My husband walks to his workplace at the university and is regularly threatened by angry, hairy drivers who refuse to respect marked crosswalks on 116th Street. In November of 2023, I contacted my councillor and the city to bring to their attention the unsafe situation at the 116th Street and Edinburgh Road crossing, and indeed the problematic intersection of Saskatchewan Drive and 116th Street. I was referred to Safe Crossings program and informed that there was no plan to address the problem until 2026, but also with no assurance that it would be addressed then either. I was referred to the Safe Crossings dashboard. I looked at it prior to this hearing and found that there are no plans in the Windsor Park neighborhood for any safe crossings. I also found Safe Crossings were working with pedestrian counts of 2019. There are only a few ways in and out of Windsor Park, and the traffic study for the proposed Westridge development does not include this major intersection, nor does it measure traffic during peak academic times of the year. This makes me question whether the statistics used for any development proposals are accurate, because we know the city is working with old housing and population data. North Windsor Park has had a growth rate of 173% from 2015 to 2025, according to Dr. David Lynch's analysis, and 136.5% from 2020 to 2025 for both North and South Windsor Park, according to the analysis of Dr. Karen Hughes. You'll hear from her soon. This well outstrips the city's 40-year goal. I'm concerned about the additional traffic that will be generated by a 275-unit building, along with hundreds of units from other buildings that have already been approved in an area that is already straining to accommodate vehicular traffic, threatening the safety of pedestrians and cyclists. I urge council to reject the proposed rezoning. I really believe we need to have a traffic study which includes major intersections and a cumulative assessment as recommended by Professor Lynch in order to make reasoned and appropriate decisions. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Susanna Bureau, please go ahead now.
Yes, thank you so much, Mayor Sohi. Good evening, Mayor Sohi and City Councillors. Many thanks for the opportunity to speak on this proposed rezoning. Next slide, please. The Windsor Park Citizens Coalition speakers will include the following topics: an introduction regarding densification and growth, issues with Westridge as a construction firm / owner, pedestrian and traffic concerns. You have already heard from Danica, but you'll hear from Julia on that. District policy and appropriate transition, public trust and good governance issues. It's not a question of all or nothing. Recommendations and community views, and a conclusion. Next slide, please. Malcolm Gladwell's 2000 book defines a tipping point as follows: the moment of critical mass, the threshold, the boiling point. Well, Windsor Park has reached its tipping point, and what we mean is that Windsor Park's densification has been and is continuing to occur quickly, and that a shorter development on this site would be welcomed and appropriate, whereas the current proposal is unnecessarily tall, out of scale, and intrusive to our neighborhood's established and forthcoming densification projects. Next slide, please. The following densification and growth figures are from Windsor Park Community League Civics Committee representative at the city's June 30th, 2025 public hearing. In 2020, Windsor Park had approximately 575 dwellings, mostly single-family, unofficial suites, garden suites, and a 4-story condominium building. In 2025, Windsor Park has 725 dwellings, including skinnies, secondary garden or garage suites, row housing, and a new 140-unit apartment building. In addition, Windsor Park has a second Westridge apartment building of 172 units under construction now, as you've heard, and another 188 approved units that are coming down the pipe. In total, Windsor Park has 1,085 dwellings existing, in progress, and approved. This compared to 575 just 5 years ago. This is growth at an extremely fast rate. Next slide, please. This graphic from the TIA report provided by Westridge shows just some of the recent additions to North Windsor Park, and you've seen a similar graphic, I know. As you've heard previously, including David Lynch's excellent analysis, Windsor Park's density is massively outpacing city expectations, and that is before this proposed development. The blue property is the proposal in question, as you know, while the red properties, excuse me, align with the remaining labels on the graphic. Note that the number of units in Windsor House is incorrect on that label. The actual number is 140 units. Next slide, please. The city plan envisioned phased growth of 100% over 40 years. Windsor Park is already at growth rates far beyond this after just 5 years. From Dr. David Lynch's analysis, the number of dwellings in North Windsor Park has increased by 173% from 2015 to 2025. And from John Collier's June 30th, 2025 analysis, the number of dwellings in Windsor Park has increased from 575 in 2020 to 725 plus the additions equaling 1,085, as you've heard, and this does not include the 270 units in the proposed tower. In yesterday's meeting, Councillor Jantz expounded on the city's need to densify due to anticipated population growth. We completely agree, and Windsor Park is continuing to experience record-setting growth and densification. It is crucial for council to realize the following: 10 to 15 stories is the appropriate size and height for this site. That height echoes the tallest surrounding buildings in Windsor Park, 11 stories, and on the U of A North Campus, 15 stories. Conversely, a 25 to 27-story tower is entirely inappropriate. That concludes my presentation. My mother, Melanie Bureau, will take on from here. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Melanie Bureau, please go ahead.
Thank you. 1 minute. I'm just pulling up your notes here. There you go.
Hello, City Council. Thank you for the opportunity of speaking to you today. I am Melanie Bureau. Since 1950, I have been a resident of Windsor Park on 117th Street. Our home is located across the street from the proposed rezoning. I'd like to raise the issue of Westridge as an owner-contractor active currently in Windsor Park, directly west of our home. As construction has progressed on Westridge Pacific's Windsor Park 1 apartment of 172 units, I have had firsthand experience of this scheme in action, and the record is troubling to say the least. Since construction started, my household and many neighbors have all called 311 to report a variety of infractions. Workers repeatedly parking without a permit on 117th Street, parking on front lawns on 117th Street, and countless instances of trucks idling noisily for hours on 118th Street. We also have reported noise complaints when they occur after working hours, that is, after 9 p.m. Monday through Saturday, and after 7 p.m. on Sundays. Unreasonable and excessive noise has been reported to 311 on evenings as late as 1 and 2 a.m. In addition, we note that trucks and other construction vehicles are frequently driving at high speeds down 117th Street and 116th Street. With the many children, young families, and seniors in Windsor Park sharing roads and sidewalks with Westridge workers and sharing our quiet neighborhood with several Westridge construction sites, I feel safety should be first and community respect should follow a close second. I urge City Council to check with the city's 311 services to see complaints about Westridge properties and construction sites in Windsor Park, as this disappointing story is all on the record. And I strongly urge you to reject this zoning application, especially since we don't know how this added influx of population in our neighborhood will further affect our quality of life, privacy, and first and foremost, our safety. Thank you for your kind attention.
Thank you, and so lovely to hear from you, Melanie. Then we already heard from Danica. Next is Julia Parker.
Yes, thank you. Good evening, everyone. Just a bit about myself. I've lived in Windsor Park for over 20 years. And during that time, I worked on the north side, downtown. My husband also worked there, and our children actually went to junior high and high school on the north side. And the reason that I bring this up is that, as you can imagine, I have been across Grote Bridge hundreds, dare I say, thousands of times in the past 20 plus years. And so I'm very familiar with the north-south route out of Windsor Park to the rest of Edmonton on the other side of the river. Now, I did have a presentation, if perhaps that slide could be put up. Yes, fantastic. Thank you. I think it's cut off. I don't know if, yeah, perfect. Thank you so much. So what I've observed over the years and my many trips across the bridge is that the congestion at the pinch points, which are the circled in black on the map, and those are the points where roads converge and lead right down to Grote Bridge. The congestion at those points at certain times of day has increased over the years. And of course, at rush hour, any kind of peak university time, with cars flowing into and out of the university parking lots along Saskatchewan Drive, along 116th Street, coming from the hospital, coming up to the hospital, flowing out of other neighborhoods, down to these two intersections, which are the two intersections that lead you down to Grote Bridge. The backup in traffic is considerable, and it continues to increase. And as a result of that, I think what's happening is that there's more shortcutting through the neighborhood, because if you can't get onto 116th Street, you think, oh, I'll zip through the neighborhood and I'll try to get onto 87th and get down to Grote Bridge that way. And so it's not, there's sort of the two effects. There's the pinch point congestion at these two big intersections. And then there's a consequence of the congestion, which is that people cut through the neighborhoods and try to find alternative, ways to get to the bridge more quickly. Now, I know that the traffic impact assessment was done in preparation for this application. I've looked at it. I've looked at the city's report. Both of them confirm that, traffic impact is satisfactory. But the traffic impact assessment really only takes into account that area around the site itself, which is indicated on this map in orange. And it doesn't extend to these major routes. And I think that, speaking to the themes of cumulative impact, which we've heard from others, it's important to realize that there already are traffic issues in the neighborhood when it comes to accessing Grote Bridge. And looking just at the immediate impact of 300 parking spaces and what that means on the site and how you get into the site and out of the site and what the laneway will look like, that's fine, but it's very, very localized. And it's not exploring the impact on these major routes into and out of the neighborhood. And indeed across the river, which is more significant because that's how people travel from one side of Edmonton to the other. So I wanted to raise that as something that I thought was missing from the traffic impact assessment and from the understanding perhaps of the impact of this many cars. And of course, we've heard about the other buildings in the area that are under construction. They also have parking spots. So I just raised that as an issue for your consideration. Has this traffic impact assessment gone far enough? Does it need to look further and examine these pinch points, which really affect all Edmontonians? Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for joining us. Next, we'll go to Joe Miller.
Yeah, you should have a PowerPoint. Oh, good, thank you. Thank you, Mayor Sohi and members of City Council, and thanks in particular for staying late to hear the application. I'm presenting today in two capacities. First, as a long-term resident of Windsor Park, and secondly, as a lawyer who has practiced in Edmonton for the past 40 years. And the reason why I'm raising that is because my presentation today is to explain to you why this application does not meet the criteria of the district policy. Next slide, please. The key legislation, of course, is the district policy. Next slide. This location is in a major node, which then activates section 2.4.3 of the district policy. Next slide, please. 2.4.3 covers a number of different criteria, some low, mid, high-rise, and tall high-rise. There's a separate subsection for each. Next slide, please. This proposed building, by definition, under the district policy, meets the definition of tall high-rise. And that means, next slide, we then go to section 2.4.33, which governs the particular application for a tall high-rise. Next slide, please. There are only two criteria under the district policy that must be met. The first is it must be on an arterial road, and it is. It's on 87th Avenue, so we've got that. The next thing and the most important thing is that site size and context allow for appropriate transition to surrounding development. So I'm going to talk about that because that's important. So next slide, please. What does appropriate transition to surrounding development mean? Next slide. The problem is it's not defined. It's not defined in the district policy. It's not defined in the zoning bylaw or, pardon me, the city plan. Next slide, please. The law tells us that where a phrase is not defined in a particular piece of legislation, that the words must be given their ordinary meaning. So, next slide, please. What is the ordinary meaning of appropriate transition? I'll tell you what it is not. It is not the meaning that necessarily is given to it by planners. And it might not even be the meaning that's given to it by members of City Council. Is it if you stopped 100 people on Jasper Avenue and asked them what appropriate transition is, the consolidation of their answers constitutes what ordinary meaning of that term is. Next phrase, or next slide, please. The only difference between a high-rise and a tall high-rise is its height, by definition. Next slide. And so the key factor is that under the district policy, appropriate transition to surrounding development is not required for a high-rise. You don't need it for a high-rise, but you do for a tall high-rise. Next paragraph or slide. Why? Why is there a difference between the two? It's not because of the zoning. Next slide. Zoning applies to tall high-rise and even low. So it's not what's happening at the 4th floor level. It's not how far that is from a house. It's the top, the 27th floor. The answer is, next slide please, height matters. As the only difference between high-rise and tall high-rise as defined as height, the only reason appropriate transition is required and is not optional for tall high-rises and not high-rises is because of the height of the tall high-rises. Next slide. The question therefore becomes, does the height of the building allow for appropriate transition? And sometimes it does. Downtown, I'm sure you could stick a 27th floor apartment between a 25 and a 26. You've got appropriate transition. Next slide. Not here. Next slide. Or here. Next slide. Or here. Next slide. Or 87th Avenue. The question that needs to be answered is a transition from 2 to 4 floors next to a 25 to 27 floor apartment appropriate transition, importantly, using the ordinary meaning of the appropriate transition? If you stopped 100 people on Jasper Avenue and told them that it moved from 27 floors to 2 floors, what would they say?
Got your point. Thank you so much. Next, we will go to Sandra Duxbury.
Good evening, Council. Thank you so much for your time. It's been a long process for you as it has been for us, so thanks for hanging in there. I really appreciate the opportunity, if we can go next slide, to set the context, strongly oppose this proposed development, demonstrate that it does not conform with the zoning bylaw, and respectfully request that you deny the rezoning applications. Next slide. So I'd like to thank Westridge in their presentation for actually pointing to they've been attempting in their proposal to build to what's now allowed under the city plan and the district policy and plans and the zoning bylaws that you've approved in this term. And so there's no question it's been a very ambitious and very aggressive set of bylaws that have been put in place and that they work in an integrated way. And we're hearing in all the presentations that have come through in the last few days that this is starting to strain public trust. And you're feeling it and you're hearing it again and again. And so next slide, please. I just wanted to spend a moment to just explore, just from basic textbooks and information, about what is good governance. Government institutions are responsive to the needs and concerns of citizens, actively seeking their input and feedback. Abiding by the rule of law, laws are applied fairly and impartially, and there's a system of justice that is accessible to all. Citizens are actively involved in the governance process. A stable and predictable environment is created. There's impartiality by decision makers, fairness and objectivity in decision-making processes, without bias towards a particular interest. And decisions are made in a way that seeks to build consensus and find common ground. Next slide, please. So why is that important? It promotes trust. Good governance every day promotes trust. And when citizens trust their government, they're more likely to participate in civic life, pay taxes, and support public policies. Next slide, please. And then, that just leads to accountability, because the ultimate accountability of an elected official is to their voting constituents, and those constituents may choose not to re-elect them. Next slide, please. So some of the other things that are really contributing to distrust are notions that have been brought forward by administration and through the various bylaws, like things, fuzzy boundaries. So you've already seen and heard how the first Westridge building was kind of in that zone. It really started being proposed at a time the city plan and the original zoning bylaw drafts were not completed yet. And our community had to reconcile, well, how is council even entertaining something that's outside, fuzzy boundaries. So it's a very interesting thing what that does to trust. Next slide, please. So you get this unpredictable upzoning that keeps happening. And so you look at where the district plan puts higher density, and of course, as I called it, their first building, the sideways skyscraper, went in right across the school, much deeper than it would otherwise have been allowed. Next slide, please. So this current proposal helps us to really wonder, like we find that plans and bylaws are made meaningless by relentless upzoning. So I know the district plan, and overlay, and others are going to speak more to that. But if we just look at the actual application, I just wanted to draw some attention that the CN zone that's there is that building taken right from city diagrams. And then what they're proposing is an MU, maximum height 88 meters. And oftentimes you say 88 meters, people don't quite understand. If you look in the area that formerly called Oliver, they've got kind of a matching tower. So is it that we're trying to get matching towers across the river that are standing higher than other things? It's a very interesting situation that the upzoning is making the plans kind of meaningless. So we're strongly opposed. It doesn't really conform. It really is overbuilt. We would prefer something shorter. This application, as you know, has been rapidly changed in order to try receive your approval before October, because infill is a big issue. And it will, in fact, as you're going to hear, interfere with amenities, use, enjoyment.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Next, we go to Ilona Bureau.
Hi, good evening, Mayor Sohi, council members, and concerned residents of Edmonton. As a Windsor Park homeowner, I want to thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. Like the speakers before me, I come here not in opposition to growth, but in support of thoughtful stewardship of our land, our resources, and most importantly, our community's future. It's not all or nothing. We in Windsor Park care deeply about the housing crisis, and we've been doing our part in contributing to the city's densification targets and are exceeding them without building anything new, which is a major reason why I oppose this next tower on 87th Avenue in its current supersized and I think inappropriate scale. Windsor Park is already undergoing a profound transformation. So far, so good. These projects are reshaping our streets, our infrastructure, and our social fabric. But here's the critical point. The full impact of this transformation is still unknown. We're standing at a threshold. The developments already in motion will take years to complete, and even longer for their effects to be fully felt. The character and cohesion of our community will evolve in ways we can't really predict. Next slide, please. That's why I oppose the grievously inappropriate height and scale of the tower on 87th Avenue. It shows a disregard for the character of its surroundings, dwarfing even the tallest buildings on the university campus nearby. to proceed with additional development approvals now, before we've had the chance to assess the cumulative consequences of what's underway right now, would be to act without foresight. It would be to gamble with the long-term livability of our local community. And it would set a frankly terrible precedent for the rest of the city. That's why I'm urging Council to adopt a pause on new development approvals grounded in the precautionary principle. This principle is simple but powerful. When an action or policy has the potential to cause harm, and when scientific consensus on the outcome is lacking, the burden of proof falls on those advocating for the action, not on those who seek to prevent harm. In this case, the burden of proof should rest with developers and planners to demonstrate that further densification won't overwhelm our infrastructure, erode our natural environment, or compromise our quality of life. Until that proof is available, until we can measure the effects of the developments that are already underway, we should refrain from adding more uncertainty and expanding the margin of error. I don't think this is anti-growth. It is pro-accountability. It is pro-community. It's pro-Edmonton. It's a call to ensure that our planning is not just reactive, but reflective, that we don't build first and ask questions later, especially when our community has already accommodated density far above what's being asked of the rest of the city. So let's take time to gather data, consult residents more, monitor traffic, assess school enrollment and pedestrian safety, evaluate stormwater systems, and understand how our community is adapting to the construction that's already in play. Let's learn from what's happening now before we commit to what's coming next. So I think, do I still have a little bit of time? I do. In Toronto, where I currently am living, condo developments are focusing on providing more bicycle parking spaces than car parking spaces. For example, a 20-story condo beside Ryerson University intends to include one bike parking space per unit and actually no car parking at all. This is the future of cities, and yet City Council and planners don't seem to have wondered why Westridge is planning to provide almost a parking space for almost every unit in this building. We're being sold on the idea that this would be a transit-oriented development with residents walking or cycling to work or the transit hub at the university. But then why are there so many parking spaces being provided? One can only suppose that developers operating in Edmonton's new environment of anything goes in a node are so confident of their approval that they talk out of both sides of their mouth. It's a transit-oriented community, but there's a parking space for every resident. Density is good in measured, calculated amounts, but I do urge Council to not drop its other priorities. Climate goals, building sustainable communities that are transit-oriented, and responsible development of our cherished neighborhoods. Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us. Next, we will go to Karen Hughes.
Thank you, Mayor Sohi. Can you hear me okay? Yeah, great, thank you.
Move a little close to the mic if you don't mind.
Okay, yeah, it's a little hard for short-waisted people.
We can hear you now. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, and I do have a presentation.
Okay.
And I would also like to thank you all for
That's the
staying.
one on the screen?
Pardon me?
That's your presentation?
That's my presentation.
Okay, go ahead, please.
It's a number of slides. Thank you. The hour is late, so I'd like to state the obvious. This is a huge tower. It's a huge decision for our community. It's also a huge decision for the city. Does this actually realize what we dreamed of with the city plan? Next slide, please. We do not believe it does. We're disappointed that city administration would support it. We're asking you to deny it. There are a number of issues. You've heard of appropriate transition from Joe Miller. You've heard of a number of other concerns that we do not feel have been addressed that are important. We also feel there is a lack of balance in city administration's report. And I will add, I take no pleasure in saying that. My brother was a planner with this department for 20 years, and my father is a former chief commissioner of the city. But I think we need to be taking into account all available information. So my comments right now, I would like to set the context a little bit more for the area we're looking at. I would like to talk about community views, and I'd like to talk about our concerns about a lack of balance in the report. Next slide, please. This site is in a priority growth area, PGA, approved by you in May of this year. These are the principles presented by administration that guide development. And I want to quote verbatim. I watched the public hearing. It's become my new Netflix channel. And the developers say, taking a gradual and incremental approach to growth, transitioning to smaller buildings on edges, using public feedback to reflect local context, and alignment with both city plan and district policy, both bylaws. Next slide, please. In that hearing, city administration talked about our node, what will happen. The red and yellow, I'm sure you remember, that's the densification, the concentration, building density upon density, mix of commercial and residential, achieving economies of scale to get the walkable communities that we dream of with the city plan. Windsor Park was not discussed. It fell off the map. So we added it in on the next slide, please. There it is. There's the site, Westridge. On the far left, university lands running for blocks, separating it from where all of the action is supposed to be happening and where it was envisioned by the city plan, the center of the node, the concentration. With respect to Westridge, they say that this is the enactment and vision of the city plan, that it doesn't scatter high towers and density. It actually does. And many people in our community feel that that is exactly what's happening. The idea of the city plan was to gather and braid together high towers, density in the center of the node. And here we have a renegade node, renegade tower, off on the far side. Next slide, please. Community opinion does not view this as appropriate. And again, going back to principles, we are going to look at community opinion as one component of the decision. You can see 4 to 5 people, and we had engagement all across the city on this. People were very clear in some of their comments. They did not live in the community. They would like to. We still had 4 to 5 people opposing. Next slide. Key issues: excessive height, inappropriate ability to transition, traffic, parking, safety, demands on infrastructure, school, rapid growth, and concerns with the city and the developer. I won't go over all of these. You've heard a lot, but I do want to raise a few points. Next slide. We do not feel there's a balanced assessment by city administration. We have many questions. We cannot ask questions here, but you can, and we hope you will, in your role of doing due diligence. Here are some of the questions we have, and I'll talk briefly to them in a moment. If we can move through. There is the growth plan in blue. There is growth in Windsor Park in red, spiked. Next slide. If we extrapolate, 273% growth by 2030. Next slide. Cumulative impact assessment, we've heard from David Lynch on this. There isn't one, and the city admits it on 990 of the agenda. It says we can't take into account other projects not completed. Next slide, please. The school pressures are not discussed. Change will take years, we were told 2 years ago. The daycare has been evicted from the school. Next slide. And the rapid growth and change in the university does not refer to the strategic plans that are publicly available.
Thank you so
very
much. Rolf Myers, please go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can, yeah.
My name is Rolf Ramirez. My wife Judy and I live on 8534 117th Street. I'm retired from the university's business school. My wife is a yoga teacher. For the last 5 years or so, we have been surrounded by new developments, many of them from Westridge, a new one, Everfour, across the street. And you have just heard from thoughtful speakers the negative repercussions. For us, the latest threat is the underground garage exit from the 172 suites across from the Windsor Park School. There are already 2 underground garage exits in our alleys, and this is something that really leads to further congestion. Now, let me turn to the deficiencies of the present application that have already been mentioned in more detail and that you have access to through the written submissions. First of all, I would like you to really reread, if you've had the time to reread Professor David Lynch's Dean of Engineering and Order of Canada thoughtful analysis that should perhaps have been made by city planning, or that we'll come back to that. So, number one objection deficiency is the transition. Legally, perceptually, it should be a no-go. Secondly, there has been what we, my wife and I, and others in the coalition feel an unfair summary of what we heard. It was biased in our view, pushing pro-development, proposal direction. Thirdly, evidence has been presented that we have overachieved the densification in North Windsor Park and both parts of Windsor Park, South Windsor Park. This overachievement is due to adduction of data that did not previously were considered. So we're beyond the targets that even the city has set when you took at the blue line and the red line in Karen Hughes' presentation. What are the implications of this? And I've learned from my sitting through here that I should be brief and positive. So what are the implications and the possible takeaways? You should review the regulations that you have put in place. You've come to focus on a tall tree when the forest is under pressure. You should maintain the public trust by providing resources to do more careful preparation. This would reduce also the cynicism that I see out there. There's cynicism out there. Example, a successful former student of mine, a successful entrepreneur, took a company to market, lives in Belgravia and looks at the growth around his house. He says to me, "Rolf, what are you doing today?" I said, "I'm giving up my volunteer shift at the Cross in order to go to city council." He said, "You're wasting your time." I don't like that. Don't go there. So by denying the present application, you help maintain the attractiveness of Windsor Park and therefore of the city. Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us. Next, we will go to Christy Green.
Good afternoon, Mayor Sohi and councillors. My name is Kirsty Green.
Kirsty.
I'm the president of Windsor Park Community League. Since 1947, our community league, which consists of neighbours, friends, all volunteers, have worked to bring neighbours together, connect through activities, programmes and issues that interest or affect them. We're always encouraging our residents to make their voices heard, either individually or collectively. We have heard from residents from all corners of this community who tell us that they understand that Edmonton must grow as a city, and many do support the city's goals to add housing, welcome new neighbours, and reduce our city's carbon footprint. Redevelopment growth is already part of our community's story. 2 large 6-storey buildings and several row houses projects on subdivided lots have been approved or are under construction right now. None of these are occupied yet, and already our neighbours tell us that things are changing and fast. The League appreciates the efforts that the Westridge team made to engage with our community through open houses. We saw great turnout and engagement from our residents. Our community is also very appreciative of our League's Development Committee, who worked on behalf of the League and their neighbours to understand rezoning proposals, and still do, as they occur, and all residents, and thank you also to all the residents who responded to the city's request for comments. But this rezoning has generated more feedback from our community members than any other in recent memory. Our members and other residents have told us that they are overwhelmed by the scale of this particular rezoning, especially when added to everything else underway. On top of the traffic congestion near the hospital and increasing parking overspill, our much-loved daycare has been displaced, leaving families scrambling. Our local elementary school is nearing capacity, and all but one of our active community businesses are expected to close to make way for this redevelopment. Windsor Park is a welcoming and adaptable community. Our community league is ready to support Edmonton's growth. Our community welcomes new neighbours, but our community tells us that the lived experience of our neighbours is what we should also be listening to, and that this is too much and it is too fast. Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us. Next, we will go to Elaine Soles.
Good evening, Mayor Sohi and councillors. I'm the Civics Director of the Windsor Park Community League and chair of the League's Development Committee. With such a large, impactful project, it's important to let you know that we do our due diligence with rezoning applications like this one. We review and analyze to understand and consider city policies like the SCONA plan and the district policies. We review consultants' reports like drainage, transportation, sun shadow, etc. We ask questions and provide comments. We meet with developers and their consultants to provide suggestions for improvements so that the project or the proposal is as good as it can be if it's approved. For example, in this one, we suggested some changes at intersections near the site, a new sidewalk from the east side of the site to 116th Street, which is currently an asphalt patch, and a new alley that's pedestrian, bike friendly, or preferably only, but it's nice that that they've developed a pedestrian bike friendly alley. We keep community residents and the Community League Board informed throughout the process, including opportunities for input to the developer and the city. We informed the community early on that this application is in the University Garneau Major Node, not a PGA though, where tall high rises are allowed. We keep our ear to the ground so we know what residents are thinking about the project, and we review the city planner's report, which also includes quite a compendium of community feedback. Finally, we provide options, considerations, and sometimes recommendations to the Community League Board, and the board decides whether to take a position and what position to take. You've heard the League President talk about the community impacts and what the neighborhood is feeling about this, and Windsor Park is experience a concentration of a large number of projects close together, as you've heard, and along with all the mid-block and corner row housing projects underway, the neighborhood is feeling overwhelmed by the pace of redevelopment. I want to focus on the timing of this rezoning application. Initially, it included a road closure. Closing the existing alley behind the shopping center would allow the 4-story development on 117th Street to be attached to the high-rise at the shopping center site. A new alley would then be created further north on 117th. It's our understanding that's still the plan, and the road closure will come forward separately at a later time. The road closure has been excluded from the current rezoning application so that considering the rezoning doesn't have to wait for the road closure process to be completed. The League's view is that advancing the rezoning application at this time is premature. It should wait until the road closure process has concluded. We appreciate your consideration of the League's concerns and suggestions.
Thank you so much. There are fireworks outside and we are inside. watching them here. Okay. Sabina Krashi, please go ahead.
Okay, hello, Mayor and council members. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I just want to reiterate what the previous speakers have been saying in opposition to this development. I think it's clear that there's a very great level of community opposition to this. A lot of work has been done to demonstrate why the community feels that this is not an appropriate development. The question is, though, will you listen to them? We're not convinced that will happen, but we still have to try and tell you why this isn't a good idea. I don't live in Windsor Park, but I bank there and I get my hair cut there and I go past this particular spot all the time. It's very familiar to me. And I feel that by putting this big tower there now, when you already have these other developments going up just a block away, or I don't know if it's a block away, it's a block and a half away, I feel that you're really tilting the scale in favor of sort of a huge influx of people that will come into this very small kind of area all at once. And I would really agree with Dr. Lynch that I think it makes much more sense to wait until there has been time to see what the impacts are of those buildings that are going up now across from the school before going ahead with this enormous project, which will bring so many more people into this area. I don't have a lot more to say. I just want to reiterate that I feel that you've heard from people who have spent a lot of time studying this and going over the plans and really thinking through how it's going to impact them. And I urge you to listen to them and take those concerns seriously. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. And we'll see if there are questions from colleagues. Councillor Jans?
In fairness to staff and everyone,
We have 15 minutes.
I don't think we've been here for almost 24 hours. I think if we start getting into it now,
Will you have questions or not?
I do, but
But if you want to ask questions or not?
not right now.
If not, then I'll cede the chair to Councillor Wright and ask questions.
I have the chair.
Thank you. I want to go to Speaker Miller. I'm really fascinated by your presentation, and I'm going to ask that question to our legal counsel as well when we come to that. The ordinary meaning of the appropriate transition. You feel that if that was applied in an ordinary way of things, right, asking ordinary people in the absence of a definition, people will interpret it in a way. How to explain me a little bit more? How would people interpret that?
Sure. When you look at the district policy, and I don't know if I can pull my slides up now or not, but when you look at the actual policy, there's a distinction between what's required under a high-rise. Oh, so I can go to slide 4, please.
If you could answer that quickly, because I have other questions as well. Yeah.
There's a distinction between high-rise, which does not require appropriate transition, and tall high-rise it does. So basically what that means is because the difference between high-rise and tall high-rise by definition is height, height then becomes an important consideration in appropriate transition. And what I'm suggesting to you is using the ordinary meaning of that. So if I walked around anyone on the street and said, is it appropriate transition to go from 27 floors down to 4 floors? Is that appropriate transition? Most people would say no.
Got it. Okay. That's okay. Want to go to Speaker Melanie Bureau, if you're still there. Thank you for your presentation and sharing your experiences of a noise and lack of following on the construction hours and it calls to 311. We'll ask those questions to administration as well, right? And those were the things that you were concerned about, right? You're muted. I'm sorry, you're muted.
So sorry about that. I just was saying, Mayor Soy, I'm going to respond in my mother's place because she's retired for the evening at
Okay, no worries.
101.
No, thank you. No, thank you for that. And there's other questions too that you have identified on height, on compliance with district plans. Other speakers have that we will follow up definitely when you go to administration on those. So those are the questions I had to the panelists. Councillor Jans, you have questions?
Sure. Again, many of my questions were answered. I just wanted to confirm. So where I'm a little perplexed, maybe if I can go to guest Soles or guest Green, I think when we had the district planning conversation, I'll have to go back and check my notes, but I thought Windsor Park was supportive of the plan that had the community league had expressed supportive plan of density along the perimeter and 87. That's something.
Yes, we have traditionally done that.
Yeah.
And we did make some comments about the district planning and SCONA plan and the district policies, but not about the major node or it had more to do with the new policy that was introduced at the very last minute in the district planning that we focused on at that time.
I also note in the What We Heard report, the community league had put in a number of different suggestions around the lighting, the alleyway, the other roads, the pedestrian features, etc. What has been the process or the engagement so far on that?
Yes, we did put in those suggestions, and we see some of it reflected in the project.
But so what are some of the pieces that are still missing or unsatisfactory?
Well, we had asked for a pedestrian bike only alley, but apparently it needs to have traffic, but it's a multi-use alley. You know, it's bike. I'd say it's bike pedestrian friendly. The things that we'd pointed out, those things we'd pointed out have been reflected. I think the off-site sidewalks and intersection changes have been reflected. We of course made comments about height, and of course it's still a tall high rise.
Right. There was another speaker. I'm sorry, who was talking about the parking and there was, my understanding is it's 0.9 or 1.0 parking per unit. But then somebody was saying they thought this was excessive.
That wasn't the league. The league did not say that it was excessive.
Was the guest who thought it was excessive? Was that?
Yeah, I'll speak to that because
Yeah,
I do think it's disingenuous of the developers. The point is you're adding a great number of people where there is already a great number of residents that have yet to move in. Each one of them with a car would, incredibly, it's an incredibly troublesome thought to think of hundreds of cars being added to a very tiny part of the city.
Sorry, that's where
2 block.
I'm sorry, guest. What's your name again?
Oh, my name's Ilona.
Ilona. Sorry, Ilona. So I had heard that initially there was when I first heard about this, there was concern there would be insufficient parking. And are you suggesting there's
you didn't hear that from me.
So you're thinking,
you wouldn't have heard that from me.
Okay, so your position is there's an excess of parking available there?
I'm suggesting that, part of the reason that this kind of density is being visited on Windsor Park is presumably because we're close to, a transit center and all the rest of it. And it rubs me the wrong way when, developers will present, this notion of transit-oriented development, et cetera, yet they're providing car spaces, parking for, which will inevitably bring hundreds of extra cars, and people will drive those cars. And so I just, I do question this notion of, it's sort of whitewashing, or sorry, greenwashing, I guess is the term. I just think that not only should the tower be half its size currently proposed, like I think it would be much more reasonable if it was just cut in half, and also, really walk the walk, and said,
with the expectation that with the parking, would you want to see half the tower and half the parking?
No, I'd like to see less than half the parking. I mean, is this a transit-oriented development? Is the reason we're allowing this many more units into Windsor Park because we are so close to transit? If so, why do people need cars? Transit is so close by, and also they should be working at, presumably, right, at the campus or, at the health center, at the university. I mean, at the hospital.
I'm
So,
just out of time, but I appreciate the clarification.
Thank you so much,
okay,
Councilor
thanks.
Salvador.
Sorry if I sound agitated.
Councilor
Yeah,
Salvador.
thank you. Thanks. Yeah, I'll just go to Speaker Joe Miller as well. I just wanted to follow up on some of the points you were raising around transition and appreciated your clarification to the mayor's line of questions, but also wanted to understand, when you're talking about transition, the transition between the tower and then the adjacent 4-story, or more so the transition between the 4-story and then the adjacent home? And I guess what would you consider to be a more appropriate transition?
Okay, so I'm referring to the transition between the tall high-rise and the surrounding development. So that's the terminology used in the district policy.
Okay, so I guess when you're looking at the tall high-rise next to the 4-story, is that the transition that you feel is inappropriate?
That's a transition that I think most people would consider inappropriate.
Okay, and between the tall high-rise and the adjacent property that's proposed to be 4-story, what would be a more appropriate transition?
Okay, so that's kind of the point, that we have to look at the ordinary meaning. So at some point, a transition from 27 to a building next door of 25 is appropriate transition. Maybe down to 20 is appropriate transition. But at what point does it cross the line from being an appropriate transition to inappropriate? And my suggestion is, using the ordinary meaning that most people would say, a transition of 23 floors from the top of one to the top of another is not appropriate.
Okay, well, I appreciate the answer. I'm just thinking of, I guess I'm thinking, is it the transition between the tower and then the 4, or if the 4 was actually a 6, would that be a more gradual transition? I know in other contexts, also in primary corridors or primary nodes, there might be like a 6-story building that transitions down to an RS zone. So that's kind of where my mind is going, but I appreciate your answer, and I will likely follow up with city administration once we get to questions.
Thank you, Councilor Salvador. So that concludes the questions to all of you. Thank you so much for waiting and joining us. Really, really appreciate this. So we're going to postpone this item to September 15th meeting, and then we will carry on as a first item on that day with the balance of the proceeding. And we will going to also postpone the other item that is remaining to September 15th as well. So Councilor Rutherford, can you do that, please?
Yeah, I'll move to postpone item 3.31, 3.35, and 3.36 to the September public hearing.
Second.
No, 3.31 is already dealt with.
Oh, sorry, 3.32. Sorry, it's late.
Yeah, 3.32 and
3.35 and 3.36.
Yeah, which are cross-referenced.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll second
We've
that one
seconded.
too.
Okay, please vote. I am yes.
Yes, Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Councillor Hamilton. Thank you, Mayor Sohi. We have all the votes.
Display the votes, please. That is carried. And are there any notice of motions or motions without customary notice?
Mr. Mayor, can I just give my usual?
Oh, yes, please do.
Just because, Council, I'm sorry, I know it's late, but you're right in the middle of an active public hearing. Just a reminder that over the next 2 weeks, you shouldn't receive any new information or information outside of the public hearing.
Yes.
For that open item.
Thank you for that reminder. Any notice of motions without customary notice? I am not seeing any. We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone. I want to convey my deepest appreciation to staff administration and clerk, thank you so much for sticking around. I know, and also to members of the public for your patience. It's been a long few days, but it's important work that we're getting through. I would really appreciate your patience and your support. Thank you so much. And enjoy the fireworks are done, so can really enjoy the fireworks.